Heartland President Bush has wrapped up a three-state push for his immigration proposals. In Omaha today, he called for tougher steps to keep illegal immigrants out of this country, but he also called for measures that would help others assimilate into American society. In California, meantime, a tough stance on immigration helps a Republican keep a congressional seat in a Republican district. It's a signal that the border battle may be a battle cry in this year's elections. Our White House correspondent Ed Henry is standing by, but let's go to Del Mar, California. A very scenic sight. John King is there with the latest. John?
Well, Wolf, a win is a win is a win. That is a cliche, but it's also true in politics, and Republicans will take their victory in the special congressional election here. But some say it comes at a high price. The Republican candidate won by directly attacking the Republican president. Victory for Brian Bilbray means survival for Republicans in their first big midterm election test. But the California race offers sobering lessons for both the president and his party, beginning with immigration politics.
The president proposing amnesty was absolutely a big problem.
As the count broke his way overnight, Bilbray told CNN he won because of his vehement opposition to the president's call for a guest worker program, putting millions of illegal immigrants on a path to citizenship. Now, Bilbray says he will urge other Republicans to copy his tough election message.
Don't listen to the Senate and don't listen to the White House. They mean well, but they're not listening to the people.
The immigration issue has added intensity in the San Diego area district just miles from the Mexican border. Still, conservatives who oppose the president's approach were quick to see the vote here as ratification.
Then I think the prospects of anything getting through Congress before the election are virtually zero.
Nationally, Republicans prefer to focus on the bottom line. California's 50th congressional district will remain in GOP hands. Francine Busby's defeat denied Democrats their first big 2006 target, even though she insists there's a message in coming so close.
We need a government that works for us, not for special interests, and people are they're fed up with the direction that we're going in.
Busby climbed from 36% 2 years ago to 45% against Bilbray, suggesting to political scientist Gary Jacobson the national climate still favors Democrats.
No, I think the national message is that she came fairly close in a district that's overwhelmingly Republican. A lot of Democrats with 7 or 8 more points would put a lot of Republicans in serious trouble.
The election was to fill the final 7 months of the term Randy Duke Cunningham resigned earlier this year because of a corruption conviction. Bilbray and Busby will face off again for a full term in November. A higher turnout should favor Republican Bilbray. And another lesson here is that money matters. National Republicans poured more than $5 million into this race, more than double the Democrats. That money used for television ads and a voter turnout effort that helped Republicans, Wolf, squeak out a win here in a district. In a normal year, they would win easily. Wolf?
Is it a foregone conclusion, barring some unforeseen circumstance, that since he beat her now, he's almost certainly going to beat her in November? Is that the thinking out there in California?
Even Democrats concede the likelihood that Bilbray will win again in November. Why? Because the turnout is generally higher in November than it would be in a primary or a special election. And you also have the governor's race on the ballot here in November, a hotly contested governor's race. Arnold Schwarzenegger running for re-election in a tough race. He is pretty good support in this Republican district down here. So everyone, even the Democrats, concede that if the Democrats were going to win this seat, this was probably their best shot, Wolf.
All right, John, thanks very much. Let's go to the White House. Ed Henry is standing by. The president was out speaking on immigration once again today. What are they saying?
Wolf, the president realizes he has a problem trying to sell a plan that critics in his own party call amnesty, so he's trying to fight back.
One day after alleging his critics are using the word amnesty as a scare tactic, President Bush fired back at conservatives calling for massive deportation of illegal immigrants.
It makes no sense at all to say we can find people and, run them out of the country. For some, I guess that sounds appealing. It's impractical. It's not going to work, and it's not necessary in my judgment.
The president asserted again he's not for amnesty, insisting his plan does not let illegal immigrants off the hook.
You got to pay a fine for being here illegally. You got to learn the English language. You pay your debt to society. And if you choose to be a citizen, you can. Just you wait in line at the back, not in the beginning.
While pushing back on amnesty, the president is offering conservatives some olive branches, talking tough on border security at a Tuesday stop in New Mexico. And after touring a Catholic charity center Wednesday in Nebraska, the president stressed the need for assimilation, teaching immigrants American values and culture before they earn citizenship.
I saw a place where people were learning to speak English and learning the civic lessons of what it means to be an American citizen.
But the president stumped the students when he asked how many father-son teams have served as president of the United States. After noting his own father was the nation's 41st president, Mr. Bush revealed the other duo.
Juan Adams y su hijo Juan Q.
Now, the president said he's still hopeful he can help break the impasse on immigration reform on Capitol Hill, but he also acknowledged the obvious, that this fight over amnesty is what he called the ultimate stumbling block to forging some sort of a compromise. Wolf.
What are they saying at the White House, Ed? Bilbray wins running against the president's position on immigration reform. The Republican, presumably other Republican candidates around the country, are going to draw some lessons from that it pays to go against the president's stance on comprehensive immigration reform.
Well, White House spokesman Tony Snow is trying to put the best face on it. He's saying two things. Number one, as John King was noting, for Republicans, a win is a win, and they'll take it any day. But secondly, on the question of immigration, for a White House that insists they don't read the polls, Tony Snow today cited polling data that as people learn more about the president's immigration plan and they have time to actually get past the rhetoric and look at the details, Republican candidates that stick with the president, according to the White House, will do well in the long run. The problem for this president is he knows full well, though, in the short term, he's taking a beating on the issue of amnesty, and it's hard to get past all that in the long term. In the short term, he's taking a big hit, Wolf.
All right, Ed, thanks very much. Ed Henry reporting from the White House. Let's go back to California, where the state is now set for a showdown between the governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the newly crowned Democratic challenger, the state treasurer, Phil Angelides. Our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider, is joining us now with more on this race. Bill?
Wolf, it's Angelides versus Schwarzenegger. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Can the treasurer bring down the Terminator?
I'll be hitting the road first thing tomorrow morning as the Democratic nominee for governor of the state of California.
Phil Angelides is the establishment Democrat, the political insider, the nerd.
People want a real governor. They've had enough of the show.
If the Democrats have their way, this race will look like revenge of the nerds, meaning revenge for the 2003 recall when Arnold Schwarzenegger kicked sand in Gray Davis's face. But Angelides was bloodied by the nasty Democratic primary. Most California voters had an unfavorable opinion of Angelides and a favorable opinion of Schwarzenegger.
The governor got the candidate he wanted to run against.
But you know what they say, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Schwarzenegger hit rock bottom last year when he tried to play the tough guy. He picked fights with Democrats, unions, school teachers, nurses. They brought the Terminator down by defeating all his propositions last year. Now look who's kicking sand.
I'm someone who's a fighter.
But Schwarzenegger has a comeback strategy.
And all of a sudden, there you see the governor, the Republican governor, and the Democratic-controlled state legislature working together.
Schwarzenegger gave up the tough talk, the shrill ideology. Instead, he's talking about
how we created $20 billion more in revenues, and how we have brought Democrats and Republicans together in order to solve our infrastructure problem.
What's happened to Arnold?
Is he got rid of the celebrity image, the Terminator image, and he's wearing a suit every day. He's really trying to, do the perception as a governor.
The governator is turning into the nerd.
Box office. The people of California don't want to see a governor who picks fights with people. They want to see a nice governor who brings people together and solves problems. A nerd. Wolf?
I was out in California a few weeks ago. There are some Democrats who don't necessarily like this nominee, Phil Angelides, do they?
It was a very nasty fight. He won with less than 50% of the vote after a very tough campaign and a very low turnout. He is the establishment candidate. He's pretty liberal. He's going to have a tough fight. Right now, most people I've spoken to think this race in California is going to be very close.
Bill Schneider, thank you very much. And from one end of the country to the other, there were high-profile primaries in a number of states laying the groundwork for crucial November elections. Our Brian Todd joining us now with a roundup of some of the results. Brian?
Wolf, let's start with the showdown in Alabama, where God and politics were key in the gubernatorial campaign.
And to all of the people in Alabama, thank you.
An easy victory for Alabama's governor, Bob Riley. He beat back a Republican primary challenge by former Alabama Chief Justice Roy Moore. Moore became a hero to religious conservatives when he was forced from office for refusing to remove a display of the Ten Commandments from the state judicial building. Alabama's Lieutenant Governor, Lucy Baxley, easily topped former Governor Don Siegelman in the Democratic primary. Siegelman is currently on trial on charges of bribery and racketeering. In California, a victory for former governor and presidential candidate Jerry Brown. He's currently mayor of Oakland, but now he's also the Democratic nominee for California Attorney General.
All right, I'll see if I can't work that out.
In Montana, Senator Conrad Burns easily won his primary against 3 Republicans, despite his ties to disgraced lobbyist Jack Abramoff. He'll face off this November against Montana State Senate President John Tester, who should be a tough opponent. In New Jersey, the field is set for what's expected to be an extremely close Senate race. Democrat and current Senator Robert Menendez and Republican Tom Kean Jr., the son of a former popular governor, each breezed through the primaries. And one other contest to mention, Democrat and Iowa Secretary of State Chet Culver and Republican Congressman Jim Nussle were winners last night. They now face off to succeed Tom Vilsack as Iowa governor. Wolf?
Thank you, Brian, for that. Despite some heavy pressure for President Bush, it was the same old on same-sex marriage. The Senate today rejected a constitutional amendment to ban gay marriage. Opponents of the ban included a number of Republicans. Let's go live to our congressional correspondent, Dana Bash. Dana?
That's right, Wolf. The Senate did not get the majority that backers predicted, in part because some Republicans openly defied President Bush's argument that because of challenges in state courts, that there is a need for a federal ban that would protect traditional marriage.
The Republican sponsor of a same-sex marriage ban opened the week with a bold prediction.
That we will gain more than a majority on this vote. I think that's a very significant milestone. This will be the first time since this amendment has been brought up in the Senate that we will have had more than 50%.
But that didn't happen.
The yeas are 49, the nays are 48.
And the sting of defeat was impossible to hide.
Well, we were hoping to get over 50%, but that didn't happen today.
GOP supporters of a federal same-sex marriage ban knew they'd be far short of the 67 votes needed to change the Constitution. But Senate Republicans gained 4 seats since last voting on this in 2004 and thought this time they'd prove their position is gaining steam. Now it's their opponents claiming victory.
Well, I don't think they've got any momentum on this issue. I think the momentum on this issue is on our side, and I think we saw that today in the way that they fell so short on what they predicted they would get.
What happened? 2 Republicans, Arlen Specter of Pennsylvania and Judd Gregg of New Hampshire, who voted yes on this measure 2 years ago, switched. Gregg made clear he now disagrees with President Bush's argument that federal intervention is necessary because the courts are undermining the traditional definition of marriage. Fortunately, such legal pandemonium has not ensued, Gregg said. A 3rd senator Republicans were relying on, Chuck Hagel, did not vote. He was with President Bush in his home state of Nebraska. Supporters vowed not to give up and took the long view.
The nation has, to some degree, focused on this issue. We've had a debate about what the consequences are for this country if the definition of marriage is changed in America.
The question now is how this will all affect the urgent Republican desire to try to appeal to the conservative base. Some conservative activists say this will actually galvanize the rank and file, but others talk to other Republican strategists. They say there's no way to slice this any other way, that this was a defeat for President Bush and GOP congressional leaders, and that this perhaps could make them look out of touch. Wolf.
Just want to point out to our viewers, Dana, there were 2 Democrats who voted for the amendment, Robert Byrd of West Virginia, Ben Nelson of Nebraska. Dana Bash, thanks very much. Dana and Ed Henry, Bill Schneider, John King, Brian Todd, they're all part of the best political team on television, CNN. America's campaign headquarters. And while the U.S. Senate stood firm against a gay marriage ban, Alabama voters have overwhelmingly approved a constitutional amendment to ban same-sex marriage in the state. Homosexual unions are already illegal there. And in Pennsylvania, the House has passed an amendment to the state constitution aimed at bolstering an existing ban on same-sex marriages. Coming up in the next hour, right here in the Situation Room, I'll speak with Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, the Roman Catholic Archbishop of Washington. Can he live with civil unions among homosexuals? You might be surprised at his answer. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room. Let's go up to New York. Jack Cafferty is standing by with the Cafferty File. Hi, Jack.
Hi, Wolf. We're approaching the 5-year anniversary of the September 11th terror attacks against this country. And the chairman, both of them, of the 9/11 Commission have sounded another dire warning. Tom Kaine and Lee Hamilton told a House panel today that this country remains dangerously behind on key security improvements. They said there's been little progress since they issued their last report card in December. And that's when they gave D's and F's for things like airline screening, funding, and information sharing. In a kind of a frightening statement, Kaine said, quote, "It's very hard to give below an F. If I could, I might have." They added that access to nuclear material is one of the biggest threats, and they questioned the decisions for Homeland Security funding that included cuts for New York and Washington, the two sites of the 9/11 attacks. So here's the question this hour: how long should it take to make America secure? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile at CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf.
Is there a grade below an F, Jack?
Apparently not, but Tom Kaine said if he could have given a lower mark, he might have been tempted to do that. He's not happy.
Sounds like you might want to expel that student if he's that bad, Jack.
He used to run one of the colleges here. He's an old academician and a pretty good guy.
Oh, I remember. I know him quite well. Thanks, Jack.
You bet.
And if you want a sneak preview of Jack's questions, plus an early read on the day's political news, what's ahead in the Situation Room, sign up for our daily email alert. Just go to CNN.com/Situation Room. Coming up, the Marines' top general speaks out over allegations of troop misconduct in Iraq. That's just one of the new developments coming your way in the crisis in Iraq. That's coming up next. Also, is New Orleans getting whiter, wealthier, and older thanks to Hurricane Katrina? The details of a new report when we get the Situation online. Plus, Republicans win a close one in yesterday's special congressional election in California. Is this a trend for the GOP? Jeff Greenfield looking into that story. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
Will you be hauling 7 tons of sheet metal? Or 70 pounds of plywood? 12,000 pounds of cattle? Or a little something for a do-it-yourself job? We can't be certain how you'll use your GMC Sierra heavy-duty pickup, so we engineered it with the most available horsepower and torque in its class. GMC, engineered to the highest standard, professional grade.
There's a new world of technology and choice in communications. Advanced new ways to bring television into your home. A world where you're free to compare and choose the TV services you want at the best price. It's time for TV freedom, and America's telecom companies are ready to bring TV freedom to you as soon as Congress updates our telecom laws. With competition and choice, consumers win. TV freedom. Now that's the future. Faster.
There are more than 29 million Americans without insurance who need help paying for their medicines. That's why there's the Partnership for Prescription Assistance. Through this free service, people who need help can call 1-888-4PPA now to see if they may qualify. Many get their medicines for free or nearly free, and I'm talking more than 2,500 brand name and generic medicines. Do you need help? Write down the number you see. It's your medicine. It's your life. It's your time to call.
Tonight on 360, their daughter was murdered just as she was making them proud. Meet the parents of Amet Sanguian, a 360 exclusive.
Howdy, partner. It's John from Dick Hanna Chrysler Jeep in the giant Vancouver Auto Mall. Mosey on in. Have a look-see at over 300 Chryslers and Jeeps on sale now during Dick Hanna's Western Trade-In Days. We'll take anything in on trade. Trade in that old hay wagon for an 06 PT Cruiser, just $11,988. Get yourself 0% APR up to 60 months. Plus, become a customer for life with tires, car washes, rental cars for life, and more during Western Trade-In Days. Yeehaw! Only at Dick Hanna Chrysler Jeep in the giant Vancouver Auto Mall.
Hello there. We're married. We're the Slowskis.
Hi.
We moved here a couple of years ago for the Great Pond out back.
I love it. I'm like a fish.
This house is also far from the DSL central office or remote terminal, which makes our DSL connection slower, as opposed to Comcast, which is fast no matter where you live.
I didn't know you could read.
There's a lot of things you don't know about me.
Connect fast from anywhere with Comcast high-speed internet. It's Comcastic.
American Morning tomorrow.
I'll show you a live picture from Andrews Air Force Base coming in from outside Washington, D.C. This C-17 U.S. Air Force military transport plane just landed seconds ago, bringing Kimberly Dozier, the CBS News reporter, along with about 40 other injured Americans from Germany to back to the United States. Kimberly Dozier, as you know, was badly injured on Memorial Day, a car bombing in Iraq. Her two-man crew were killed, as well as a U.S. soldier and a translator. Kimberly will be transported from Andrews Air Force Base to the National Naval Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland, for additional treatment. We'll cover this story. We'll go back there live. We'll also hope for the very best for Kimberly and those 40 other injured Americans on that military transport plane. In the meantime, let's check in with Zane Verjee. She's joining us from the CNN Global headquarters with a closer look at some other important stories making news. Zane?
Wolf, we begin with this developing story. The FBI says it's arrested a Saudi national at Fort Benning, Georgia, on federal charges that he threatened to blow up an airplane. 45-year-old Saleh Nasser al-Sulayem was on the base undergoing training as a language translator. A federal complaint signed in Columbus, Georgia, says he made the threat to a fellow Fort Benning staffer. The commandant of the Marine Corps is not saying a whole lot about investigations into charges that some of his troops murdered civilians in 2 incidents in western Iraq. The most notorious incident involved the November killings of 24 Iraqis at Haditha. The second resulted in the death of 1 Iraqi man in April. The nation's top Marine does say that the Corps is fully committed to getting to the bottom of both.
Where compliance with our standards is in question, we use well-established processes to determine as accurately and expeditiously as possible what happened and why. But make no mistake, a Marine who has been found to have violated our standards will be held accountable.
We're going to go live to the Pentagon for more on this story next hour. At least 8 people are the latest to die in internal violence in Iraq. In western Baghdad's Mansour neighborhood that you see here, gunmen in 2 cars killed 5 people when they opened fire. A civilian died when another neighborhood was hit by a mortar round. In eastern Baghdad, a roadside bomb killed 2 high-ranking police officers. 5 other bodies were found just scattered about the city. 15 of the 50 people abducted on Monday in Baghdad are free. They were found in 3 groups late today. They told police that they had been tortured. Now, it's really unclear who kidnapped them and where the other 35 are. Hundreds of detainees are also free today under an initiative by Iraq's new leadership to foster national reconciliation. Almost 600 were let go in Baghdad. Some of them just fell to the ground on their knees and kissed the ground. Wolf?
Thank you, Zane, for that. We'll check back with you soon. Whiter, wealthier, and older. That's the new New Orleans, according to 2 reports released today by the U.S. Census Bureau. With more on how Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Rita have influenced the population makeup along the Gulf Coast, let's go to our internet reporter, Abby Tatton. Abby?
Wolf, this is the first study done by the U.S. Census Bureau post-hurricane, and some of the results in it are dramatic. Look at St. Bernard's Parish, for example, in New Orleans, devastated by the storm. The population before the hurricane, around 64,000 people. That dropped as of January 1st of this year. It went down to about 3,000. The study looked at 117 counties and parishes, all receiving FEMA hurricane assistance. It showed not just the size of population changing, but also the makeup. Look at the greater New Orleans metropolitan area here. The white population went from about 59% up to 73%. Meanwhile, the black population changed. It decreased 37% roughly down to about 22%. Also showing which of the counties grew. Harris County in Texas, this is where Houston is, up about 90,000 people. Population experts I spoke to in Texas stressed to me that this just looked at households. It didn't take into account people in hotels or shelters. Therefore, the information, while useful, is somewhat limited in scope. Wolf.
Abby, thank you very much. Up next, a win for the Republicans in California. But back here in Washington, both parties trying to claim a victory. We'll go live to Capitol Hill for the spin over the election and what yesterday's vote means for the battle over immigration. Plus, was the gay marriage vote in the Senate today worth it for conservatives? I'll ask Bill Press and J.C. Watts. They're standing by live in today's strategy session. Stay with us.
Introducing the new 2007 Yukon Denali, the definition of great engineering.
At Johnson & Johnson, we understand the importance of a nurse's touch.
How you doing, Mr. Powell?
Okay.
I just want you to breathe normally, okay?
A nurse's touch can touch the world. Nurses, we need you more than ever.
Enjoy.
A message of caring from Johnson & Johnson.
Presenting Blue from American Express, the card with no annual fee and an introductory rate of 0% for up to 15 months with a low APR after. Call 1-800-600-BLUE or visit us online to get yours. You can pay over time, which makes this card remarkably flexible. It has a free rewards program with so many choices, it'll make your head spin. Plus, it has a fraud detection system which gives you extra security when you shop. All this with an introductory rate of 0% for up to 15 months and a low APR after. Call 1-800-600-BLUE or visit us online to apply. Blue from American Express.
What's as gentle as Senecot laxatives? Senecot is the original Sena laxative with the active ingredient, proven effective in 50 clinical studies. Yet Senecot tablets provide gentle, overnight relief from occasional constipation, thanks to its purified natural Sena ingredient. Senecot, naturally gentle, gentle naturally.
Welcome back to the Situation Room. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. Let's check in with Ali Velshi. Another down day on the markets. It seemed like only yesterday, Ali, we were talking about record highs, but things did not necessarily materialize.
We're now about 700 points lower than those days when we were talking about closing in on record highs, and now for the fourth day in a row, the Dow is closed lower again. Now the numbers have settled in. The markets closed half an hour ago, and we're looking at a Dow that is down 71 points to 10,930, and a NASDAQ that's closing 11 points lower to 2151. All about this confusion about having inflation and a slowing economy at the same time. Wall Street doesn't know what to make of it, and it might be some time before we do, Wolf. So it's this kind of stuff is affecting everybody.
Ali, thank you very much for that. Ali Velshi reporting. Let's get back to our top story now. Republicans barely hold on to the California congressional seat vacated by jailed former Congressman Randy Duke Cunningham. It seems a tough stand on immigration made the difference. Will that be a rallying cry for others in November? Let's go live to our congressional correspondent, Andrea Koppel. Andrea?
Wolf, needless to say, Republican leaders here on the Hill today were claiming victory on all fronts, saying that all politics is local and repudiating Democrats' efforts to nationalize these elections and make them all about the Republicans' culture of corruption and Randy Duke Cunningham's conviction on bribery charges. Instead, Republican leaders claim that many San Diego voters cast their ballots based on Bill Bray's border security first approach to immigration reform.
Democrats ran a race on amnesty and border insecurity and raising taxes. That message doesn't resonate through the American people. We won fair and square, and we have won on a message that we will be continuing to work on across this country.
Well, I wish we had won, but I do think there was a message there for the Republicans. They spent over $5 million to win by 4 points on a district that is about 20% Republican advantage. I don't know how they can sustain that effort throughout the country.
But the question is, what impact might Bill Bray's victory and his opposition to a guest worker program have on prospects for a House-Senate compromise on immigration reform? Even before the election results were in, House Republicans were already showing no sign that they were ready to back off their tough border security-only bill. After his victory, in fact, Bill Bray boasted that he had won because he had bucked President Bush's approach to immigration reform and took a harder line. Now, that is music to the ears of most House Republicans. According to one House GOP aide, he said the results were a reassurance that the American electorate is seeking border security. Another GOP aide said that members are already pretty hardened in their positions on this issue and said no bill is better than a bad bill. People believe that this election result, again, according to this GOP aide, aide validates that. Wolf.
Andrea, thank you very much. Today in our strategy session, President Bush was out once again pushing for comprehensive immigration reform. Is he making any progress in winning over the critics? Is the best strategy to run with or against the president's policies in November? Joining us now, Democratic analyst and radio talk show host Bill Press and CNN political analyst and former Republican Congressman J.C. Watts. Listen to what the winner in this contest, Brian Bill Bray, said in reacting to why he won.
The president proposing amnesty was absolutely a big problem. And in fact, it wasn't until I was able to highlight the fact that I did not agree with my friends in the Senate or my friend in the White House on amnesty that you really saw the polls start supporting me strongly.
He says he won because, in effect, he was running against the president.
Well, Wolf, I think there's some merit to that. I think he's right. I think what the American people are saying as I travel around the country is that they think the president is offering amnesty. Now, he may not be doing that, but that's the impression that they have. The American people want border security, and then let's talk about the other things. Now, I think the president needs to make a difference between allowing people to come in on a work permit and amnesty, but people are thinking amnesty right now, and I don't think that gets him anywhere.
What do you think?
Well, first I got to say, as former Democratic chair, I've walked precincts in that
Democratic
district.
chair in California.
In California. For Francine Busby to get 45% against any Republican there is a miracle. But I think this message from Bill Bray and the message of this election is a pretty troubling one for the White House. I think it sends two messages. One, to other candidates around the country, run away from George Bush on this issue as fast as you can. And two, it sends a message to Tancredo and Sensenbrenner, the other hardliners, J.D. Hayworth in the House. Hold tight, buck Bush, and that's the winning strategy.
But if they do that, that's presumably going to hurt Democrats, right? If they run against the president on immigration reform, because you say this is a popular issue.
I'm just talking strategically. Yeah. I'm not talking here as what's good or what's best for Democrats. I'm saying for this election, I think is going to embolden.
Would it be a smart strategy, though, for Democrats to follow Bill Bray and to run against the president on a comprehensive immigration reform?
I think because I think he's wrong. I mean, I think the Democrats have taken their position. They back the president on this one issue. I really think that's where most of the American people are. But the conservatives don't want anything to do with guest worker, nothing to do with amnesty, and I think they win on this
Here's
issue.
what Arlen Specter, a moderate Republican senator from Pennsylvania, says. This is more than an Oval Office speech, and it's more than going to New Mexico. I think he's got to get involved in the negotiations, in the nuts and bolts. If the president wants comprehensive reform, including a path to citizenship for illegal immigrants, he's got to get into the trenches.
Well, it depends on what Senator Specter means when he says he has to get into the trenches. If he's wanting to get into the trenches to talk about a guest worker program, that's good, because again, I think there's a difference in a guest worker program and how you put people on a path for citizenship. People could be here illegally and be put on a path to citizenship. That's what the American people are opposed to. Jim Sensenbrenner himself said there's room for negotiation in terms of a guest worker program. And Bill, also, let me make one comment concerning that race in California. Brian Bilbray won in the most probably tainted congressional district in the country. And they tried to use culture of corruption, and he won in spite of all of that, being against amnesty, for border security. Let's talk about guest worker program.
He won. I grant you that. I know that district. Republicans always get 70% in that district. Bill Bray's not tainted, and he barely eked it out. But I want to come back to your question. Well, I think Specter is right. You know, the president goes out there and he has a big photo op with all these Border Patrol guards standing around him. There aren't any votes out there. The votes he needs are on the Hill. He can give 1,000 photo ops. It's not going to change a vote in the House. I think he's got to sit down with these guys.
The Senate decided 49-48 against 49 in favor of a constitutional amendment that would ban same-sex marriage, well short of the 67 2/3 majority you need for a constitutional amendment. Didn't even get a majority of the Senate. Was it a mistake for Republicans to push this issue right now?
I don't think it was, Wolf. As I said Monday on this show, there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. I thought we would probably get about 3 more votes than they actually got. We had 2 votes that flipped that went with the Democrats. But I think it is very important to frame this issue, let the American people know the work that has to be done to get there. And I do believe the American people think this is good public policy.
Listen to what Senator Sam Brownback of Kansas, one of the supporters of this constitutional amendment, said in reacting to this setback.
We will not stop until the union, till marriage as the union of a man and a woman is protected in this country, protected in the courts, protected in the Constitution, but most of all protected for the people and for the future of our children in this society.
Well, I have to say, first of all, I think this amendment is unconstitutional. I think it's immoral. But just talking strategically, I don't know what they gained by this at all. In fact, talk back to the president, tie these issues together. I think he's got them backwards. He's attacking conservatives and going against them and fighting them on illegal immigration, which everybody really cares about and affects millions of Americans. And yet he's sucking up to them on this gay marriage amendment that everybody knows is not going anywhere, is not going to make any difference. And most Americans care more about gas prices than they do about 2 lesbians getting married in Provincetown.
Bill Prost and J.C. Watts, unfortunately, we got to leave it right there. Thanks to both of you. And up next, Republicans win another close one. So what's their magic when it comes to a competitive contest? Our Jeff Greenfield takes a closer look. And later, tough talk from Tom DeLay toward his fellow Republicans. We'll tell you what he had to say in today's Political Radar. Stay with us.
Tell me, energy companies. Tell me what's behind the price of gas.
Tell me why world demand for crude oil
determines what I pay
at the pump.
Tell me, how will I be able to drive my kids to school?
To school.
To work.
To work.
Tell me.
Tell me where my energy will come from. Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth.
Tell me how you're investing in this country.
Researching alternative fuels.
Tell me what you're doing.
And what I can do.
Tell me more about the future of energy.
Ask questions, get answers from America's oil and natural gas industry.
Turn off the Ambilight function on your Philips flat TV, and it's like going back in time. The only flat TV with Ambilight from Philips. You'll never go back to ordinary TV.
Wireless means mobility, productivity, choice. But hundreds of new city and state taxes, laws, and regulations threaten to raise wireless prices, slow innovation, and limit consumer choice. A consistent national policy can relieve consumers of this tangle of city and state wireless rules. Go to mywireless.org and tell policymakers to support a national policy for wireless. Paid for by mywireless.org.
So I was on my cell phone with Leah, who used to date Justin, who I saw in the library studying the anatomy of a certain friend of ours. I'm about to drop the name, and my network... No more! I've switched to Singular's all-over network, the network with the fewest dropped calls. And Singular didn't say that. The leading independent research company did. And that's not gossip, it's fact.
So switch to the network with the fewest dropped calls. Singular, raising the bar.
My spaceship would have special passageways, secret places to hide things, and a place to watch everything. So powerful it can go past Mars in 2 seconds. And shields all around, so I can protect myself from aliens. In my spaceship, I am the captain.
Introducing the all-new Hyundai Entourage, with the best crash test rating ever for a minivan.
Inside San Quentin as you've never seen it. CNN Tonight. What's it like doing life at one of the world's most notorious prisons? Larry goes deep inside San Quentin. A special Larry King Live. CNN Tonight, 9 Eastern.
As we told you, Republicans just barely held on to that vacated congressional seat in California last night. Those narrow escapes are getting to be a habit for the GOP. Let's turn to our senior analyst, Jeff Greenfield. He's in New York. Jeff?
Wolf, it was a close call for Republicans in that special election in California last night, but the GOP did hold the seat vacated by Duke Cunningham, now an involuntary guest of the federal government. But that is just the latest chapter in what has been something of a pattern. The close calls have all broken for Republicans. Just last August, a very Republican congressional district in Ohio stayed in GOP hands by fewer than 4,000 votes when Gene Schmidt nosed out Iraq War veteran Paul Hackett. But it fits a pattern that has defined the era of George W. Bush.
You know how many of those votes went for Ford?
The 2000 election began it, a presidency with more than 100 million votes decided by a disputed 537-vote margin in Florida, sealed by a 1-vote margin in the Supreme Court.
Faithfully execute the office.
That gave Bush exactly 1 electoral vote more than the bare minimum needed to win. That same year, voters split the House of Representatives almost evenly, with the Republicans holding a 9-vote margin, and the Senate split exactly evenly, 50-50.
The Vice President votes in the affirmative.
It took Vice President Cheney's tie-breaking vote to give Republicans control.
I had serious, substantive reservations about that.
A year later, the defection of Republican Senator Jim Jeffords turned the Senate over to Democrats. But in the 2002 election, narrow Republican victories in Minnesota and Missouri returned the Senate to Republican control by a 3-seat margin. And what about 2004, when Bush was reelected with a majority of the popular vote? Look at the numbers. Bush won by 3 percentage points. That's a smaller margin than Harry Truman got in 1948, when the pundits and the early editions of one newspaper called him a loser, and slightly narrower than Woodrow Wilson got in 1916 over Charles Evans Hughes. By the way, that year, Hughes went to bed thinking he had won. When a reporter called, a servant said, "The president has gone to bed." The reporter said, "Yeah? Well, when he wakes up, tell him he's not the president." Now, is there any explanation for these close calls all going the GOP's way? Well, maybe it's random chance. Maybe it's that Republicans tend to have more money and a better get-out-the-vote operation. Or, if you're a real partisan, maybe God is a Republican. Wolf?
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. Jeff Greenfield is part of the best political team on television. All of you know that. CNN, America's campaign headquarters. Coming up, a showdown for an embattled congressman, the target of a bribery probe. We're going to have details of a closed-door meeting between William Jefferson and House Democratic leaders. And coming up in the next hour here in the Situation Room, my interview with retiring Washington Cardinal, Theodore McCarrick. He opposes same-sex marriage, but you might be surprised to hear his stance on civil unions. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
Go on a team-building course, they say.
Get to meet other banks.
This is hopeless. We've got ourselves in a real quagmire here.
Actually, I think it's quicksand.
Ew.
Quicksand. First rule?
Don't panic.
Good. Anybody panicking?
No. I am.
All right, next steps. We're a team, right?
Right.
In accordance with procedural policy of my bank, I propose a risk assessment steering committee to assess the risk, composed of all interested parties with both advisory and practical powers, and that the committee should initiate an extraordinary meeting to bring the current situation to a swift and satisfactory conclusion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Let's talk. Make it happen. The Royal Bank of Scotland Group.
Now, who would like to offer a vote of thanks? Bogdanovich. Well done.
All cars have headlights to illuminate the road ahead, but Lexus has developed a headlight that actually rotates up to 15 degrees to reveal what's around the bend before you get to the bend. What kind of a difference can 15 degrees make? A very noticeable one. See the 2007 RX 350 at your Lexus dealer.
Attention homeowners with adjustable rate mortgages. Interest rates are on the rise. So now is a great time to refinance to a flat fee home loan with a low fixed rate from ditech.com. Log on to ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Hydrogen cars? I'm cool with that. Since a lot of the hydrogen that we'll be using will be created as a byproduct of clean coal power plants, we'll be less dependent on foreign oil. Want to learn more? Check this out.
When something really fits, you can feel it, like the fit you get with C-Bond denture adhesive. It's the only wafer that has a gasket effect that locks dentures in place. Only C-Bond gives you all-over coverage, all-over hold in a wafer. No mess, no ooze.
When your dentures really fit, you can feel it.
Now, lock dentures in place with C-Bond, the adhesive wafer with the gasket fit. C-Bond.
I was 36 years old and weighed 280 pounds. I was at the hospital visiting my mother who had type 2 diabetes and heart disease. I didn't want that to be me. So that's when I made up my mind to have gastric bypass surgery.
At bariatricedge.com, you'll hear from patients and healthcare professionals to help you decide if this life-changing surgery could be for you. Individual results may vary and bariatric surgery presents risks. Talk to your doctor to see if gastric bypass surgery is appropriate for you. Hear more personal stories at bariatricedge.com.
In today's political radar, a showdown next hour over embattled Congressman William Jefferson. The Democrat from New Orleans meets behind closed doors here in Washington with House Democratic leaders. Jefferson's the target of a federal investigation into alleged bribery. The FBI says $90,000 allegedly bribed money was found in his freezer. Top Democrats want Jefferson to step down from the powerful Ways and Means Committee, and they're giving Jefferson the chance to defend himself. Jefferson has not been charged with anything, and he says there are two sides to the story. His nickname was the Hammer for his tough style as the House Majority Leader. Texas Congressman Tom DeLay gave up that post, and on Friday will give up his seat entirely. He was indicted on corruption charges, which he denies, and he saw close associates caught up in an influence peddling scheme. But DeLay is dropping the hammer one more time, get this, on fellow Republicans. In a USA Today interview, he criticizes his colleagues for, quote, panic, depression, and woe is me-ism, and predicts they'll lose control in November. Tomorrow, by the way, we're going to hear from Congressman DeLay. He'll speak with our senior political correspondent, Candy Crowley. That coming up tomorrow here in the Situation Room. With her 115th veto, first-term Governor Janet Napolitano has set a record for the most vetoes in Arizona. From immigration to abortion rights to budgets, the details of each and every veto are now online. Why so many? Let's bring in our internet reporter, Jackie Schechter. She's standing by with the details. Jackie?
Wolf, it is not pretty in Arizona government these days, and it boils down to having a Democratic governor and a Republican legislature. All of the veto letters are available online. By the way, she's already up to number 116, but let's hone in on the record-setting 115th. Here you can see where she talks about strong employer sanctions in an immigration bill that she vetoed. Now, they tell me at her office the numbers of vetoes are inflated because the House often sends her, or the House and Senate rather, often send her bills they know that she's going to reject over and over again. For example, you can take a look at one letter where she's setting a particular bill for the 5th time in her administration. A spokesperson for the House majority tells me today that she's an obstructionist who's standing in the way of what Arizonans want. That's their explanation of this. And the Senate president, also Republican, says it's her way or no way. Wolf.
Jackie, thanks very much. And in contrast to Janet Napolitano, President Bush, in his nearly 6 years in office, has not done one veto yet, although he's threatening one if it goes forward on that appropriations bill. Up next, are you driving the most popular car among thieves? We're going to show you what the most stolen vehicle in the United States is. Get this, for the 4th year in a row. And coming up in our 5 p.m. Eastern hour, Congressman Peter King joins us live here in the Situation Room. I'll ask the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee about the battle over the cut in grants to New York City. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
And that's what the Border Control Act did.
At GMC, our engineers seek out technology that can make our SUVs more efficient and apply it. Introducing the new 2007 GMC Yukon with active fuel management. It switches from 8 cylinders to 4, providing best-in-class fuel economy. Looking beyond the drawing board is just one more way we engineer to the highest standard, professional grade.
Tonight on 360, their daughter was murdered just as she was making them proud. Meet the parents of Ahmet Sangian. 360 exclusive tonight, 10 Eastern.
Dick says yes, and he says it fast. Dick says yes is the home of the guaranteed auto loan. Yes, you're approved. Choose your next car, truck, van, or SUV. From 2,600 vehicles at Dick Hanna's Dick Says Yes, the original yes. The other yes.coms sell off your information to 4 or 5 dealers, each running your credit report. Not good. Each run makes your credit score go down. At Dick Says Yes, you deal directly with us. Get guaranteed approval without a whole bunch of unnecessary credit checks. Choose from over 2,600 vehicles, while our award-winning credit specialists automatically shop over 50 lenders. There's 3 ways to do it. 1, log on to DickSaysYes.com. 2, call 866-YES-ONLY. Or 3, take exit 5 off I-5. See us in person. Your guaranteed auto loan and next car are right here at DickSaysYes.com, the original yes. #1 in customer satisfaction 2 years in a row. Dick Says Yes on I-5 exit 5, right next to Walmart on Highway 99 in Vancouver. DickSaysYes.com, the original yes.
Finding your next car doesn't have to be complicated. VHIX.com makes it easy with a huge inventory of cars ready and waiting on dealer lots near you. VHIX lets you select the color you're after, read informative reviews, even use the online payment calculator. If you want a smart way to find the car that's right for you, search for it at VHIX.com. Click Auto on Comcast.net.
You wouldn't believe some of the stuff we have to deal with around here. Not the patients. I'm talking about filing insurance claims, ordering supplies. That's why we switched our internet service from DSL to Comcast Workplace.
Just take a deep breath.
We actually get what we're paying for. Reliability, more speed, and Comcast includes McAfee security for free, so we don't have to worry about viruses or anything. Last thing we need around here are more viruses.
Comcast Workplace, broadband for business.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Let's check back with Zane at the CNN Global Headquarters for a closer look at some other stories making news. Zane?
Hi, Wolf. As you saw just 2 hours ago here on CNN, former Idaho Governor Dirk Kempthorne has been sworn in as President Bush's new Interior Secretary. He took his oath of office in a ceremony in the White House Rose Garden. Kempthorne succeeds former Interior Chief Gail Norton in overseeing the nation's national parks and other public lands. Wildlife officials in Florida say the bald eagle is no longer in danger of extinction. State Fish and Wildlife commissioners today voted unanimously to downgrade the bald eagle's threatened status. They say they did so because the bird's populations have grown in recent decades. The move won't take effect for at least a year to give the state to establish a management program. And if you were a car thief, what would your favorite car be to steal? Well, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety says across the board, it's the Cadillac Escalade for the 4th straight year. Not only is it a big, bold, shiny luxury SUV with a rear seat DVD, it's also famous for being the ride of everyone from NFL stars to Tony Soprano. The least stolen car is the Ford Taurus. Wolf, which one would you steal?
I wouldn't steal either one of those cars.
You don't steal.
I don't steal, first of all, but I'm not big on either with the Taurus or the Escalade. Zane, thanks very much. Still to come, how long should it take to make America secure? Jack Cafferty has your email in our question of the hour. And coming up in the next hour, there are now new allegations the CIA was illegally sending terrorist suspects to secret prisons in Europe. Brian Todd will have the details of a controversial new report. Stay with us.
Closed captioning sponsored by Selsun Blue. Never wear black without the blue. Selsun Blue.
Dandruff-free means dry, brittle hair.
Not anymore. New Selsun Salon. No flakes, no itch. Rich with vitamins and moisturizers. Selsun Salon. Sensational.
Introducing the new 2007 Yukon Denali, the definition of great engineering.
Are you getting enough fiber in your diet? To get the 25 to 30 grams of daily fiber you need for ongoing good health, what else would you have time for? That's why there's great tasting Fiber Choice, the chewable fiber supplement. Each bottle contains 180 grams of fiber. You'd need more than 3 bottles of fiber pills at 3 times the price to get the same amount. And try new Fiber Choice Plus Calcium with as much calcium as 14 ounces of milk in each dose. Fiber Choice, original and new Plus Calcium chewable tablets.
Before it became my acquisition, it was my ambition.
Patti LaBelle has diabetes.
I found a better attitude when it comes to eating.
New One Touch Ultra 2 with before and after meal averages can help you see how food affects your blood sugar.
One touch changes everything, yeah.
How you doing, sir? Orientation, 7th floor. Sign in, please.
If you're a new full-time employee.
We've got the Q4 numbers. Germany looks good.
A people-ready business knows that every person it hires is an investment. With the right software, they'll be ready to hit the ground running from day one.
eLoan's loan consultants don't make money based on the rate of your loan, so you get the rate you deserve. No wonder home buyers are so excited about eLoan. That's just one of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan, radically simple.
UPS, covering more ground faster than ever.
Inside San Quentin as you've never seen it. CNN Tonight. What's it like doing life at one of the world's most notorious prisons? Larry goes deep inside San Quentin. A special Larry King Live. CNN Tonight, 9 Eastern.
Jack's got the Cafferty file in New York. Jack?
It's not over yet, believe it or not. And I should have just blown you off, but because of my intense personal loyalty to you, decided to go ahead and...
It's been almost 5 years since 9/11. The chairman of the 9/11 Commission told a House panel the U.S. remains dangerously behind on key security improvements. They said there's been little progress since they issued their last report card. That was in December. The question we asked is, how long should it take to make America secure? Kevin writes from Florida, if we'd have used the same troop levels and budget we've wasted on Iraq on our domestic security, this country would be 1,000% more safe. Bruce in Maryland, America can be made secure in about 7 months. That's when the next Congress takes office. However, it means voters in all states need to forget about the gay rights issue and vote on what affects them materially. Jobs, outsourcing, gas and food prices, deficit spending, tax cuts for the wealthy, illegal surveillance, and the war in Iraq. T in Nebraska, it'll take 2.5 years for the country to become secure. Bush will be out of the White House and the whole world will be a safer place. Mike in East Grand Forks, Minnesota, never. Between the world wars, France built their impregnable Maginot Line. The Nazis simply swung through Belgium and France fell within weeks. Yeah, but it was France. Gee, no lesson to be learned there, right? Except maybe no defense will stop everything forever. George writes from Florida, there's no way to know when we'll be completely safe. Only the enemy knows that. And Jay writes in North Dakota, Jack, the answer should be quite simple, even for you. We need to counter the Bush administration by electing a Democratic House and Senate in the fall elections. A real pushback by the party holding the purse can work wonders. What did he mean even for you, Wolf, do you think?
I don't know what he meant, but he was just trying to be cute, Jack. Thanks very much. To our viewers, you're in the Situation Room, where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by, CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you today's top stories. Happening now, it's 1 a.m. in Iraq, where enemies lock in a fierce battle. A general says Marines fight a daily personal battle over the right versus the wrong way to wage war, and those choosing the wrong path will be dealt with. Ports in a storm with gaping holes in the nation's port security. Why is the Senate taking away money aimed at beefing up the operations? And it's 5 p.m. here in Washington. Does a Catholic cardinal agree with the Catholic Church? Certainly against gay marriage. You might be surprised to see how he feels about same-sex civil unions. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Conscious amid conflict right now, one top U.S. general says Marines battling in Iraq often wrestle with what to do and what not to do as they wage war. This comes amid an ongoing investigation into whether or not some U.S. Marines massacred 24 Iraqi civilians in Haditha in November. Our senior Pentagon correspondent Jamie McIntyre is standing by live at the Pentagon with the latest information. Jamie?
Well, Wolf, General Michael Hagee is not just the top Marine, he's the commandant. He sets the tone for the entire Marine Corps. He's just back from a trip to Iraq where he says he met with at least 20,000 Marines to impress upon them the importance of holding the law of war in combat, even under the most stressful positions. And he said while he is gravely concerned about the allegations of an alleged civilian massacre in Haditha last November, he is limited by what he can say because he's in the chain of command that could review possible criminal actions. However, he said no one should doubt that this incident will be fully investigated.
If it turns out that an individual violated rules or regulations, he will be held accountable regardless of grade or position. I need to stress that the investigations are ongoing within the operational chain of command. Once finished, they will go up the operational chain to the final adjudicating authority, in this case the commander of Marine Forces Central Command.
And while he said he's concerned about these particular allegations, he's not concerned about the Marine Corps in general. He said he was inspired by his visit with the troops and the caliber of people who are in the Marine Corps. And when asked by a reporter if he should resign, General Hagee should resign over this personally, he gave the same answer that Donald Rumsfeld did, which is that he serves at the pleasure of the president and he has not submitted his resignation. Wolf?
All right, Jamie, thanks very much. Right now, several people are recovering after an explosion in eastern Baghdad. A blast of unknown origin set cars ablaze, even charred some furniture being auctioned off nearby. 3 policemen are among those injured. Meanwhile, more than a dozen people kidnapped Monday have now been found. Our John Voss has the details on their horrible ordeal. John?
Well, 15 hostages were found on a street in East Baghdad in the middle of the night by Iraqi police. They say they've been blindfolded, beaten and tortured by their abductors. 3 of the hostages had gunshot wounds to the foot. There's still no word on at least 35 others who were taken with them from downtown Baghdad on Monday by gunmen dressed as Iraqi commandos. Sunni groups accuse the Iraqi police of being involved in this mass kidnapping. The Interior Ministry says it's investigating. Also released today, 600 prisoners being held in Iraqi and US-run detention centers. The Prime Minister has ordered the release of 2,500 prisoners, mostly those without clear evidence against them or those who may have been jailed by mistake. This is an attempt by the Prime Minister to heal some of the rifts between the Sunnis and the Shiites. The Sunnis make up the bulk of the 25,000-strong prison population. They were the backbone of the Saddam regime, and they complain that they've been unfairly targeted by both Iraqi and US forces. Wolf?
John Voss reporting. Thank you, John, very much. There are new developments surrounding allegations the CIA has been using some secret prisons in Europe to house, interrogate, and possibly torture terror suspects illegally. CNN's Brian Todd is joining us from the newsroom with more on this new report, and it's raising some serious new questions. Brian?
Wolf, the report is the work of a Swiss lawmaker who's investigated these charges for the past 7 months. Serious charges against the CIA from a European lawmaker, including secretly rounding up terror suspects, unlawfully flying them through shadowy European airstrips, holding them indefinitely without charge, possibly torturing some. All while many of America's European allies either complied or turned a blind eye. A new report by Swiss Senator Dick Marty says the CIA orchestrated what he calls a spiderweb of transfer sites throughout Europe, with secret detention centers in Poland and Romania.
Those places are prisons that are known but that stay secret because of their inaccessibility to international organizations, such as the Committee Against Torture or the International Red Cross.
But Marty says he has no direct proof of these places and relied on air traffic control logs, intelligence sources, and witness accounts. Of the 14 European nations who he accuses of colluding with the CIA in these so-called rendition operations, some heads of state flatly denied involvement. Others had rowdy confrontations with legislators.
Can he confirm that the United Kingdom has given no logistical support for rendition to the CIA, nor provided any information to be used in torture?
We have said absolutely all we have to say on this. There is nothing more to add to it.
Pressed further, British Prime Minister Blair had this response.
Rendition had been the policy of the American government for a long period of time.
The CIA would not comment on the report. Bush administration officials don't deny the practice of rendition, but do deny allegations of torture or other illegal activities. And they add,
intelligence cooperation between the United States and Europe and between the United States and other countries around the world saves lives in the war on terror.
Where does this go from here? Not very far. The Council of Europe has no power to start legal proceedings and almost no power to punish its members for allegedly violating human rights treaties. That council was the one that sponsored this investigation by that Swiss Senator Dick Marty. Wolf?
Thank you very much, Brian Todd, reporting for us. I want to go out to Andrews Air Force Base outside the nation's capital here in Washington. We've got some new videotape. We're going to show it to you. This is videotape. Kimberly Dozier, the CBS News Baghdad correspondent who was badly injured on Memorial Day, has just landed. Her U.S. Air Force transport plane has just come in from Germany. It's out at Andrews Air Force Base. She's just gotten off that plane at Andrews Air Force Base just a few moments ago, together with 40 injured U.S. military personnel. Kimberly Dozier was badly injured. Her two-man crew, photographer and sound man, were killed. A U.S. soldier and a translator were also killed. She's returning today to the Washington area among 40 injured Americans brought back from Landstuhl near Ramstein in Germany. She's going to be heading over to the National Naval Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland. There she is. This is the video that's just coming in to the Situation Room only moments ago. She was taken off the C-17, brought in on this to this ambulance, and she'll be driving about 45 minutes or so to Bethesda, Maryland from Andrews Air Force Base. Kimberly Dozier, we wish her and we wish all the wounded military personnel a speedy recovery here in the nation's capital. I know Jack Cafferty does as well. Jack?
Hear, hear. Wolf, the price is going to go up for radio and television stations that air raunchy talk or too much skin. Way up. The House is set to vote momentarily on something called the Broadcast Decency Enforcement Act. It will increase maximum fines given by the FCC to $325,000, 10 times the maximum fine now. The Senate already approved this thing. The president is expected to sign it. Of course, this all goes back to Janet Jackson's infamous wardrobe malfunction during the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show. Conservative groups say the bill will go a long way in raising the cost for networks that violate decency standards. Critics say it's more unnecessary government regulation and infringes upon freedom of expression. So here's the question. How aggressive should the FCC be in trying to control television and radio content? Email us at CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf.
Jack, thank you. Up ahead, fresh fighting over anti-terror funds. We'll speak live about it with the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, Peter King. He's standing by to join us here in the Situation Room. Also, a growing divide at the United Nations. We'll have details of a war of words between the United States and some UN leaders. That's happening now. Plus, my special interview with retiring Washington Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. Would he tell his priests to break the law by helping illegal immigrants? I'll ask him. Stay with us.
Turn off the Ambilight function on your Philips flat TV, and it's like going back in time. The only flat TV with Ambilight from Philips. You'll never go back to ordinary TV.
Get that money, man. Get that money, man. Get that money, yo. I gotta get that money, man. I gotta stack cheese. I gotta stack cheese. I need at least 2 G's.
Hello, sir. 20 minutes away. Yes, sir. Bye.
Prices, I stay grinding. People trail blind. All the peeps want to stand.
160 channels of rap, rock, sports, and more with XM Satellite Radio at Avis. Just another way we try harder.
The best of Joseph A. Bank. Signature suits, $3.99. Trio suits and executive suits, only $1.99. Even our famous summer suits, $179. Plus, spring sport coats, $149. And dress pants, $89. How about extra bonuses like silk polos and crews, traveler shorts, even pinpoint dress shirts, $39. Only at Joseph A. Bank. Now through Monday.
What do you get when a financial firm with 70,000 people in 50 countries takes the time to understand your needs as if it's just the two of you? Could it be the most powerful two-person financial firm in the world? You and us, UBS.
Audiences and critics agree The Proposition is a masterpiece of filmmaking. Nick Cave's script is mesmerizing. Roger Ebert gives The Proposition 4 stars. It stands alongside the best of Peckinpah, Eastwood, and Sergio Leone. Breathtaking. A stunning achievement. Ebert and Roper give The Proposition 2 big thumbs up. It's the finest Western to hit screen since Unforgiven. The Proposition, rated R. Now playing in select cities.
Welcome back. In the CNN Security Watch, the battle over anti-terror funds. Among the latest skirmishes, money for port security here in the United States. Let's go to New York. CNN's Mary Snow's got the details. Mary?
Well, Wolf, this fight comes as some lawmakers say not enough money is being spent to address security gaps at ports. These were exposed during the debate over the Dubai ports deal last winter. And it comes on the heels of a fierce debate over how anti-terror funds overall are being distributed. How much safer could we make America's ports with an extra $648 million to spend on security? We may never know. A plan in the U.S. Senate to add all those millions to boost port security just died a silent death, going largely unnoticed on Capitol Hill. But in New York, as local and federal law enforcement practice what would happen if a dirty bomb on a container ship detonated at the Staten Island ferry terminal, at least one security expert is shaking his head.
The ultimate weapon is a tactical nuclear weapon, and we should be spending every dollar that we can to prevent that.
George Boris calls it a double blow. Just last week, the Department of Homeland Security cut funds to New York and D.C. by 40%, a move that stunned the chairman of the 9/11 Commission.
There are two cities that bin Laden has said before 9/11 and after 9/11 that he wants to hit, and that's Washington and New York. So it defies any kind of logic that they don't get the vast majority of the funds.
But CNN security analyst Richard Falkenrath, who once worked in the Bush administration, says money doesn't always equal better security.
Monies allocated in a spasm in response to a political crisis of the day are usually monies that are not going to end up being spent very wisely.
And as for the nation's ports,
The leader of the U.S. Coast Guard adds this.
Well, I think we all understand that the maritime transportation system in this country is both valuable and vulnerable, but it is much safer than it was following 9/11 and continues to get safer every day.
This afternoon, I spoke with 9/11 Commission Chairman Tom Kean, who yesterday gave some failing grades to U.S. security measures in preventing terrorism. What grade would he give port security? He says his grade is an incomplete. Wolf?
All right, Mary, thank you very much. For more now on terror and funding, we're joined by Congressman Peter King, the New York Republican, as chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. What do you make of this, I guess you could call it a cut or a reduction in some port security funding?
Well, actually, the port security funding has gone up. I think the report there was they wanted to add more onto it. We just, in the House, passed the most extensive port security bill ever. It passed by a vote of 421 to 2. It did increase port security funding, but I agree that more should be done. Well, we are putting a lot in place as far as overseas inspections, container inspections, having radiation portal monitors at the ports here in the United States when the ships arrive. So a lot of progress has been made. More has to be done. If anything good came out of Dubai ports, it was a wake-up call on port security for many people in the United States Congress.
Congressman, I assume you read Michael Chertoff, the Secretary of Homeland Security's op-ed piece in the New York Times today, defending his decision to reduce funding for New York City and Washington, D.C. Among other things, he writes this. He says, Congress gave us about $600 million less for our grants program, including approximately $125 million less for the Urban Areas Initiative. Still, this year, New York will receive just under 18% of the total funds in the Urban Areas Initiative. This falls in line with the city's average over the last 3 years of receiving 19% of the program's funds. Basically, what he's saying, it's your fault, the U.S. Congress, for the reduction in funding for New York. What do you say?
Well, I say he's wrong, and I just came from a 2-hour meeting I had with the Undersecretary of Homeland Security and the Assistant Secretary on this whole issue of funding. First of all, there are billions of dollars in the pipeline that have not even been drawn down, have not been obligated, that's available for the Department of Homeland Security. There was more than enough money in the grant system for New York to receive the money it deserved. Michael Chertoff is trying to have it both ways here. He's trying to pin this on us when, in fact, he's the one who made the cuts. New York is still by far the #1 ranked city in the country, but he cut our spend. #1 as far as risk, but he cut our spending by 40%, and that can't be defended. I've gone through every possible analysis with the people in his department. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. It's wrong. And he can't be blaming this on Congress when the fact is the only reason cuts were made or any reduction in funding was made by Congress was not because of cities like New York, because New York can spend the money and needs the money. It's because there was so much money in the pipeline that was just sitting there, and we said use that money first on some of these other areas. That does not apply to New York at all.
Do you have confidence in the Secretary of Homeland Security, Michael Chertoff?
I know Michael Chertoff. I consider him a friend, but I'm very, very disappointed in several recent actions, including Dubai ports, and certainly including the funding program here, which affects New York. And even that 18% number he's using, that includes several years ago when New York, what he did was average out the first 3 years. And the second year of that program, New York was cut incredibly. So it makes no sense. Why have this whole income averaging thing? It should get the money it needs. As Governor Kean said, New York is the #1 risk by far. Nobody else even comes close, unfortunately, to New York when it comes to top risk. That's how the money should be allocated.
17 people in Canada were arrested over the weekend. Terror suspicion, some sort of plot. We're getting more details. You came on CNN over the weekend and said that, in your words, there was a disproportionate number of Al-Qaeda in Canada. That's caused somewhat of a controversy. Listen to what the Canadian ambassador here in Washington, Michael Wilson, told me on Sunday. Listen to this.
I disagree with what the chairman has said. I think that our immigration laws, as they are implemented, are very close in the outcomes as the United States immigration laws. We take very seriously these issues of terrorism.
What did you mean, Congressman, about a disproportionate number of Al-Qaeda in Canada?
First of all, let me say I have a great regard for Ambassador Wilson, and the current Canadian government is doing an excellent job, and there is tremendous cooperation between our counterterrorism forces and their intelligence forces, so there's no problem there. But the fact is, and even Canada's own officials, intelligence officials have said this, that because of their liberal asylum laws, it is much easier for someone to get into Canada. Just recently, before a Senate Defense Committee in the Canadian Parliament, you had a high-ranking intelligence officer talk about there's almost 20,000 people in the country who have not been vetted, who come from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and the Middle East, who have not been vetted. And the fact that we've seen these large number of arrests over the weekend shows two things. There is a large number of Al-Qaeda supporters in Canada, but they also have a very, very effective intelligence and police operation. But we can't deny the fact that they do have a significant number of Al-Qaeda supporters, and I believe, and many Canadians believe that it's because of the liberal asylum laws they've had. But I want to make it clear, the cooperation between the two governments is extremely good. In fact, we have a number of operations going on in the United States that are being monitored because of intelligence that we've gotten from the Canadians.
One final question. This long border between the United States and Canada, when you add up all the miles, the continental United States and Canada, plus the border along the Alaska border, more than 5,000 miles. Have we been focusing on the wrong border as far as terrorism is concerned, namely the U.S.-Mexican border, as opposed to this relatively porous border in the north?
I think we have to focus on both. Obviously, there's a much larger number of illegal immigrants coming across the southern border, but there is a risk of terrorism from the north. Now, we have increased. I think we've tripled the number of Border Patrol agents along the northern border. I think more should be done, and that is being looked at right now by our government and by the Canadian government. I've been in contact with the people in the Department of Homeland Security as to what's being done, and we are aware of the situation. I think more has to be done, more will be done. And one difference, though, between Canada and Mexico is we get extraordinary cooperation with the Canadian government along the border. We get very little cooperation from the Mexican government along the southern border.
Peter King is the chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee. Congressman, thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you.
And stay tuned to CNN day and night for the most reliable news about your security. Coming up, the former Fed chairman Alan Greenspan is back on Capitol Hill talking energy. We'll get his take on high gas prices and the economy. Plus, we'll show you why the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations is so upset with some top UN leaders. We have details of a war of words that's underway right now. Stay with us. You're in The Situation Room.
Primetime exclusive. The first interview with parents of Tiffany Sowers since the arrest of a suspect in the Clemson student's strangling murder. Nancy Grace, headline Prime. Tonight, 80.
Shoot, howdy, partner. It's John from Dick Hanna Volkswagen in the giant Vancouver Auto Mall, where if you mosey on in right quick like you can save during Dick Hanna's Western Trade-In Days. We'll take anything in trade. Trade-in leaky rowboats to rototillers. Get 0% APR for 60 months. That's no interest for 5 years. Or a $500 gas card with every new VW. Yeehaw! Plus, become a customer for life with tires, car washes, rental cars for life, and more during Western Trade-In Days. Yeehaw! Drivers wanted at Dick Hanna Volkswagen in the giant Vancouver Auto Mall.
For $100,000, your cash rhyme. I'm a sci-fi comedy, and I rhyme with snack to the future. Begin.
Snack to the future.
Quack to the future.
Grack to the future.
Don't be a culture fool. Catch up with over 100 free movies on demand with Comcast Digital Cable. It's Comcasting.
Someday, you'll be able to deliver your data how and where you need it along a secure local-to-global IP network. Someday, all your communications will work together through a wide range of IP solutions. Welcome to Verizon Business. where you'll get more than a network. You'll get the commitment of people who care about your business as much as you do. People who are accountable for making it all work for you. Someday is today. Verizon Business, where global capability comes together with personal accountability.
Let's check in with CNN's Ellie Velshi. He's got the bottom line in New York. Ellie?
Hey, Wolf, there was a familiar face back on Capitol Hill today. Alan Greenspan spoke before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about energy prices. Now, he said that while the U.S. has been able to absorb spikes in oil and gas, these high prices are beginning to slow the economy down. But Greenspan did add, and this is interesting, that high prices at the pump should eventually help cut our dependence on crude oil because it's going to cause people to shift to alternative fuels and hybrids. He also said that ethanol can become a viable alternative, but not that corn is the answer. We don't have enough corn, he says. This was Greenspan's first time talking to Congress since he left the Fed at the end of January. Now, it's not just Greenspan talking about hybrids today. Bank of America said that it is going to offer $3,000 rebates to employees in Los Angeles, Boston, and Charlotte who buy a hybrid. The company says it might expand that program to all of its 200,000 staffers, I should say. Bank of America is by far the biggest American company to make this sort of push. Google and St. Paul Travelers, the insurance companies, have also offered similar incentives. And as you can see there, that rough ride continued for blue chip stocks today. The Dow Industrials closed below the 11,000 mark for the first time since March. The final tally on the markets there, the Dow down 71 points to 10,930. That's the fourth straight session in the minus column. The NASDAQ down 11 to 2151. The culprit, concerns about inflation and uncertainty about interest rates. Wolf?
Ellie, thank you very much. Ellie Velshi reporting. And coming up here in the Situation Room, the Archbishop of Washington, soon to retire. Before he goes, Cardinal Theodore McCarrick is speaking out about illegal immigration and his surprising opinion about some same-sex civil unions. My interview with the Cardinal. That's coming up next. Also, guns and guts. That's what police in Afghanistan are using to take on a surprising comeback from the Taliban. But how ready are they for the fight? Our Barbara Starr is on the scene in Afghanistan.
You may not have the contract to build the next great suspension bridge, or the workforce to dig the next Panama Canal. And you may not be working on the next big sports complex, but your truck could. The GMC Sierra with the available Vortec Max engineered to the highest standard. Professional grade.
What happens when new technology overcomes carelessness? Because we consider what might change tomorrow, our customers can feel more relaxed about what might happen today. Zurich, because change happens.
Somewhere between where you are and where you're going, there's a Super 8. See you along the way.
Ditech.com can save you thousands of dollars in closing costs.
With our previous refinances, we ended up paying a lot in closing costs. This time, we went to Ditech, and it was only $395.
Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Welcome back to the Situation Room. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. President Bush took his calls for immigration reform to Nebraska today. In Omaha, the president highlighted two of his ideas for reform: assimilation of foreigners into the American society and tougher border enforcement. Meanwhile, despite heavy pressure from the president, the Senate today rejected a constitutional amendment that would have banned gay marriage. Opponents of the ban included a number of Republicans. So how might the Catholic Church feel about these issues? And joining us now is Cardinal Theodore McCarrick, the Archbishop of Washington, D.C. Your Eminence, always good to speak to you, especially now as you're wrapping up your tenure. More on that coming up. let's talk about immigration first. Your colleague, Cardinal Roger Mahoney in Los Angeles, has been very outspoken on this issue, as have you have been. Let me read to you what he said the other day. He said, "I've received a lot of criticism for stating that I would instruct the priests of my archdiocese to disobey a proposed law that would subject them, as well as other church and humanitarian workers, to criminal penalties, but I stand by my statement." He's referring to the House version of the legislation that would make it a felony, that illegal immigrants in this country would be deemed felons. The Catholic Church presumably would have to report them if they came in to seek sanctuary. How do you feel about this?
Well, I've made it clear too. I think we're basically on the same page. If a little kid comes up to you and says, I'm lost, can you give me some money to get home? We're not going to say, show me your papers first. Or if an older lady comes to you and says, look, I need medicine badly, I'm not going to say, show me your papers. We don't work that way. You can't work that way. I don't think any religious body in the country works that way. And so I've said to everybody, I think every Catholic priest, everyone who works for the Catholic Church is going to know that if somebody comes to them in need, you don't ask them any questions. You don't say you're Catholic, you don't say anything. You say, are you in need? If you're in need, then we help you. I think that's what it's all about, and that's what we'll continue to do, whatever the law might be.
So even if this House version were to become the law of the land, would you instruct priests to disobey the law?
I don't think I'd have to instruct them. I think they would know. They would know that the law of God tells you to take care of your neighbor, and you have to do that. I think all my priests, and I would hope anyone who worked for Catholic Charities throughout the Archdiocese would always know, you don't turn away somebody who's in need. You don't turn away somebody who's in trouble. You do the best you can for them. This is why I have been very critical about that version, because even though people have said, no, it doesn't really mean that, but if it should mean what it says, and what it says is very difficult for us to accept. I don't think we're going to meet that. I cannot see the United States passing the House version. I'm sure that when we get a new comprehensive immigration reform bill out of the Congress, it'll be something that, please God, we'll be able to support.
Another very sensitive issue that's being dealt with in the Senate right now involves a constitutional ban on same-sex marriage. Senator Ted Kennedy said this yesterday. He said, "A vote for this amendment is a vote for bigotry, pure and simple." You disagree with him, don't you?
On this one, I do. Ted and I do have differences from time to time, and this is a real big one. It seems to me that we really have to continue to define marriage as we've defined marriage for thousands of years, as a union between a man and a woman. Now, I think the legislation as it is proposed would not throw out the possibility of a civil union. And I think we can live with that if this is what the Constitution will provide for. But to say that you can take this concept of marriage, this word of marriage, and use it in ways that it has never been used before, as far as I know, in the history of the world, I think that makes no sense.
So just explain, you think that you could live with, you could support civil unions between gays and lesbians, but that you wouldn't like them to get formally married. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I think basically, because the ideal would be that everybody was able to enter a union with a man and a woman and bring children into the world and have the wonderful relationship of man and wife that is so mutually supportive, and it is really so much part of our society and what keeps our society together. That's the ideal. If you can't meet that ideal, if there are people who for one reason or other just cannot do that or feel they cannot do that, then in order to protect their right to take care of each other, in order to take care of their right to have visitation in a hospital or something like that, I think that you could allow, not the ideal, but you could allow for that, for a civil union. But if you begin to fool around with the whole nature the whole nature of marriage, then you're doing something which affects the whole culture and denigrates what is so important for us. Marriage is the basic foundation of our family structure. And if we lose that, then I think we become a society that's in real trouble.
You're about to retire. What are you going to do? Because a lot of us think you're hitting your prime right now. Those of us who have seen you in action over these years here in the nation's capital, it's almost a pity that you're retiring. Are you being forced to retire? Is that the rules of the Catholic Church right now? The Vatican says you reach a certain age, you got to retire?
Well, the rules of a certain age, you had, when you hit 75, you have to send in your resignation, and that's what I did. Holy Father gave me a whole year later, because I sent it in July of last year. So now the Holy Father felt that it was good to have a younger man who's going to be wonderful. He's the best possible Archbishop of Washington, I think, is Bishop Donald World of Pittsburgh, who is going to succeed. And I think he's a great teacher. He's a man of the center. He's articulate. He's courageous. The people are going to love him, and he's going to love the people. I think I'm really happy that we have a good man coming. I keep saying this is going to be the golden age of the Archdiocese. They're in the Bronze Age now, and we're going to make good progress.
I think you're being modest. You've been a beloved figure here in Washington, D.C., Cardinal McCarrick. We appreciate your coming into the Situation Room. Good luck to you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Wolf. Great to be with you.
And we wish Cardinal McCarrick only the best on his retirement. And still to come, the U.S. versus the UN. We'll tell you how officials from the United States are locked in a war of words right now with some top officials from the UN. And attention parents, how sneaky are your children, that is? Might your teenagers be faking their identities to have more fun online? Stay with us.
Hydrogen cars? I'm cool with that. Since a lot of the hydrogen that we'll be using will be created as a byproduct of clean coal power plants, we'll be less dependent on foreign oil. Want to learn more? Check this out.
Millions of women who smoke put off quitting for fear of gaining weight. The Commit 4 milligram lozenge can help you gain less weight while you use it to quit smoking.
Ink cartridge is kicked.
Oh. You try shaking it?
Yeah, tried everything. Guess it's up to the ink fairy now.
The ink fairy?
Yeah, you leave an empty ink cartridge under your pillow at night, the ink fairy comes and leaves you $3.
Or you could just use the easy button.
Yeah, easy button. Like that's real.
Get $3 off your total in-store or online purchase with every empty cartridge. Staples. That was easy.
Hello, I'm a Mac.
And I'm a PC. We've got a little network going here, and it was very easy to set up.
We speak each other's language.
We share internet connection. There are all sorts of things we do together. Who's this now?
This is that new digital camera from Japan. Just came out. Hajimemashite.
Hajimemashite.
Yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
Wait. You speak her language?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Everything just kind of works with a Mac. Arigato.
Buongiorno. Hello.
Last year, Norfolk Southern and its shipping partners took hundreds of thousands of freight loads off the highway. In fact, they've invested millions to convert even more traffic in the coming years. So it's easy to see how the economy won't be the only thing that benefits. Norfolk Southern, the future of transportation.
Designed to captivate. Designed to illuminate. The luxury sedan designed to outperform. The M from Infiniti.
all you want is to be comfortable. DoubleTree, a member of the Hilton family of hotels.
Closed captioning provided by Head On. Head On applied directly to the forehead.
Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On is available without a prescription at retailers nationwide.
Happening right now at the United Nations, a war of words and a growing divide pitting the United States against top United Nations leaders. Our senior UN correspondent Richard Roth is standing by live. He has details. Richard?
Wolf, the diplomatic gloves are off again between senior United Nations officials and the Bush administration man at the UN. At issue, who is responsible if Middle America doesn't know or like what the UN is doing? The United States and the United Nations are at it again. U.S. Ambassador John Bolton is outraged over remarks by Kofi Annan's deputy at the United Nations.
This is a very, very grave mistake by the Deputy Secretary General.
In a speech this week, Mark Malloch Brown criticized the Bush administration for keeping the American people in the dark about the good things the UN does around the world.
That is not well known or understood back home, in part because much of the public discourse that reaches the US heartland has been largely abandoned to its loudest detractors, such as Rush Limbaugh and Fox News.
Earlier in the week, Bolton called for all of Kofi Annan's senior aides to resign when the Secretary General's term ends later this year. Now Bolton is demanding immediate action against the UN's second-in-command.
Secretary General Kofi Annan, we think, has to personally and publicly repudiate this speech at the earliest possible opportunity.
The Secretary General stands by the statement made by his deputy, Mark Malloch Brown, and he agrees with the thrust of it.
I spoke to the Secretary General this morning. I said, I've known you since 1989, and I'm telling you this is the worst mistake by a senior UN official that I've seen in that entire time.
Malloch Brown now says the speech was a call to arms to rally support for the UN, which he says is slipping into crisis because the entire UN membership is divided over how to fix the organization.
For the life of me, I can't understand how that can be construed as an anti-American speech.
Malloch Brown says it's time for some truths to be told, though. Behind all of this, Wolf, deep frustration at the UN that the United States privately uses the organization when it wants to, but doesn't make the case to the American people that the UN is a valuable ally. Bolton insists Malloch Brown has no business and is an international civil servant commenting on Middle America.
You've focused and read that whole speech, I assume, that Malloch Brown delivered. Give us the perspective. Was it in context, that one clip that we heard? What was the thrust of his message that Kofi Annan agrees with?
He definitely wasn't criticizing the United States all the time. He was praiseworthy of Secretary Rice and other administrations. He's just saying, show your love. You want the world to be a better and safer place. Help the United Nations. Also, Malloch Brown is quite upset with other countries because all of the sides are fighting there. He says the place is in crisis. It needs fixing. But Annan only has a few months left, and it's probable that Malloch Brown and Annan, and maybe even Bolton, because of his recess appointment, will all be gone from the scene by January or February.
Richard Roth, thanks very much for that. Let's stay in New York. Lou Dobbs is standing by with a preview. You're smiling already, Lou. Why?
Well, I'm smiling because I happen to be in agreement with Fox News on the state of the United Nations. The idea that they're in crisis because they can't figure out how to fix the thing. That's really the crisis period about the place. Don't you think, Wolf?
My job is just to report the news. Your job is
I couldn't help but ask you, Wolf. The devil made me do it.
Go ahead. Tell us what's coming up at the top of the hour.
Thanks, Wolf. Coming up at the top of the hour is 6 p.m. Eastern here on CNN. We'll be reporting on the role of illegal immigration and border security in a special election held in California. The Republican won, but the president lost. We'll be reporting on the implications for the midterm elections and the winner. Brian Bilbray joins me. I'll also be talking tonight with Senator Ben Nelson, a Democrat who says the president's amnesty plan is a danger to the nation. And 3 of the country's top political analysts join us to assess what the elections yesterday in 8 states mean for the midterm elections, and we'll have our exclusive report tonight on the potential role for nationwide voter fraud in the upcoming midterm elections, the questionable role of Venezuela in those elections. We hope you'll join us. right at the top of the hour here on CNN. Wolf, back to you.
All right, Lou, thanks very much. Lou Dobbs coming up in a few moments. Today, Democratic senators on Capitol Hill blasted the administration after learning that personal information for more than 2 million active U.S. military personnel may have been on that stolen Veterans Affairs laptop computer. We're learning that House lawmakers are now weighing in with some specific actions. Let's bring in Abby Tatton. She's got the latest. Abby?
Wolf, just this hour, 145 House members, almost exclusively Democrats, sending this letter to President Bush, urging the president to request emergency funding to provide certain things. Free credit monitoring for all these veterans and active duty servicemen. In addition, one additional free credit report per year to every individual affected. Who are these people affected? Well, we heard just late last night from Veterans Affairs that now it's, in addition to all the veterans, it's 1.1 million military members on active duty, plus hundreds of thousands of reservists and National Guard members as well. The latest information is at firstgov.gov. The Veterans Affairs has been updating that. The data is still missing. Montgomery County Police in Maryland appealing to the public for the return of that laptop. They've offered a $50,000 reward. Wolf?
All right, Abby, thank you. Up ahead, the law versus the Taliban, with a wave of lawlessness returning to Afghanistan. How ready are Afghan police to fight back right now? Our Barbara Starr is on the scene with details. And in our 7 p.m. Eastern hour, survival of the fittest after a Republican was able to hold on to a congressional seat in California. What might that mean for Republican survival in the midterm elections? Stay with us. You're in The Situation Room.
Kerr McGee delivers America's oil and gas where it wasn't possible or practical before. Like deep in the Gulf of Mexico, where Kerr McGee platforms team with marine ecosystems. And in Utah's vast Uinta Basin, where production leaves wildlife undisturbed and blends into the landscape. From deep water to mountaintops, Kerr McGee's delivering energy for Americans. Kerr McGee, explore more.
Why aren't middle-class wages going up? Why does it take 2 incomes just to get by?
Lou Dobbs tonight. CNN coming up next.
It's time for...
It's June, and things are heating up. Time to lose your inhibitions and go topless at the beach. With a new Honda, Pontiac, and Ford convertible up for grabs in the month of June, dropping your top will be easy. If you don't feel comfortable with your top down, you can always cover up with 20 grand cash. Just play slots, table games, bingo, or Keno to earn entries. Each week, the grand prize winner will choose a convertible or $20,000 cash. Chinook Winds Casino Resort, where dropping your top is better at the beach.
Presenting Blue from American Express, the card with no annual fee and an introductory rate of 0% for up to 15 months with a low APR after. Call 1-800-600-BLUE or visit us online to get yours. You can pay over time, which makes this card remarkably flexible. It has a free rewards program with so many choices, it'll make your head spin. Plus, it has a fraud detection system which gives you extra security when you shop. All this with an introductory rate of 0% for up to 15 months and a low APR after. Call 1-800-600-BLUE or visit us online to apply. Blue from American Express.
Meet Dick and Jane.
Just remind him to be a little less vocal.
See Dick get fired.
Security! Hey, there's a fight! Somebody should call!
Watch Jane break down.
We may be in a little bit of a pickle, Dick.
Now watch Dick and Jane on pay-per-view.
2 ice smokers, let's go. Move it! Whoa, Jesus!
Jim Carrey, Tay Leone. Fun with Dick and Jane. Available now on pay-per-view.
Get it now on in-demand pay-per-view.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
There's a war of words that's unfolding right now between a key Republican member of Congress and the White House. Let's go to our White House correspondent, Ed Henry, for the details. Ed?
Wolf, we're just learning of an extraordinary clash between Republican Senator Arlen Specter and Vice President Cheney. Specter just firing off a hard-hitting 3-page letter to the Vice President charging Mr. Cheney lobbied behind Specter's back to block the Judiciary Chairman from issuing subpoenas to telecom giants to find out what role they may have had in a secret domestic spying program for the administration. Specter was planning a closed meeting of his committee yesterday afternoon to discuss this matter, but reveals Mr. Cheney was calling Republican senators and urged them to stop these subpoenas. Specter gripes in the letter he was particularly perplexed that the Vice President never mentioned this to Specter directly. Yesterday, they were at a closed-door lunch together, a Republican lunch in the Capitol. Specter writes, quote, "I walked directly in front of you on at least 2 occasions en route from the buffet to my table." Specter did move forward with this hearing yesterday, a public hearing, but was blocked from going to a private session, blocked from the subpoenas. Republican Senator Orrin Hatch revealed at that public hearing that he had been speaking with Vice President Cheney and that the Vice President had agreed to review legislation dealing with the NSA domestic surveillance program, and in exchange for that, the phone companies would have to not be subpoenaed. Specter now furious about this turn of events, threatening that the committee will consider subpoenas of administration officials, and if the administration cites executive privilege, they will then move ahead and maybe subpoena the telephone companies. Specter closes this missive by saying, quote, "I am available to try to work this out with the administration without the necessity of a constitutional confrontation between Congress and the President." He puts the ball in the Vice President's court. I just spoke to the Vice President's spokeswoman, Leanne McBride. She told CNN the Vice President, quote, "has not had a chance to study the letter, so they will not respond directly to the charges in this letter," but she added the administration still intends to work with members of Congress in good faith to discuss oversight of this NSA program. Wolf.
Specter versus Cheney. We'll see how that falls out. Ed, thank you very much. Overseas now, the Afghan government recently announced it's firing and replacing dozens of senior police officials. We hear a lot about the state of readiness of Iraqi troops, but as the Taliban is making a comeback in parts of Afghanistan, how are Afghanistan security forces coming along? Our Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr reports from southern Afghanistan. Barbara?
Wolf, here at this base in southern Afghanistan near Kandahar, new Afghan police troops are being trained. They are going to form the backbone of security for the new Afghanistan. The commander inspects a line of new police officers and reports to the minister they are ready to face the threat from an increasingly strong Taliban. Local tribal leaders watch this ceremony closely. Here in southern Afghanistan's Kandahar province, the Taliban are on the rise, and Afghan police are the major security force in rural towns and villages. Some of these officers have only been on the job a few weeks. 32-year-old Shakan says he joined the force to serve his country. He says security in the Kandahar area is very bad. The Taliban are everywhere. 4.5 years after the Taliban were overthrown, the police force is now emerging with a new face. Young women are training too. Massimo is 18. She says her parents are just fine with her being a police officer. But as eager as these young officers are, they have a hard road ahead. A complete overhaul of the police force is underway, meant to root out corrupt senior officers. Major General Robert Durbin runs the U.S. training effort.
And so by putting in new leaders who can be trusted, new leaders who are vetted both by the Afghans and the international community, we'll have a solid base upon which to address the corruption problems that permeate the entire force right now.
There are supposed to be 60,000 police in this country, but currently just over half are trained and equipped. These are some of the weapons they are being issued. The test for the police will come in small villages where there is no real security, and in the capital of Kabul, a teeming city of 4 million torn apart by recent rioting. Police were able to restore order, but only after some had their weapons taken by rioters. For the minister and dignitaries in Kandahar, the new recruits practice crowd control. These young Afghans will spread out to police stations throughout southern Afghanistan, confronting the Taliban and other insurgents, bringing security and stability to areas where terror tactics are creeping back. With concern about Taliban reappearing in small towns and villages across the country, here today they say getting the police forces trained, equipped, and out in the field is vital. Wolf?
Barbara Starr on the scene for us, doing some excellent reporting from Afghanistan. Up next, how aggressive should the FCC be in trying to control TV and radio content? The House of Representatives has just weighed in here in Washington. Jack Cafferty is standing by with your email on our question of the hour as well. Stay with us.
Tonight on 360, their daughter was murdered just as she was making them proud. They have been silent until now. Meet the parents of Ahmet Sangian, making sure no parent ever again goes through what they did. 360 exclusive tonight, 10 Eastern.
Someday, you'll be able to deliver your data how and where you need it along a secure local to global IP network. Someday, all your communications will work together through a wide range of IP solutions. Welcome to Verizon Business, where you'll get more than a network. You'll get the commitment of people who care about your business as much as you do. People who are accountable for making it all work for you. Someday is today. Verizon Business, where global capability comes together with personal accountability.
On the next Billy Graham television special, a story of survival from New Orleans.
A second surge of water came in from both sides of the school.
Billy Graham visits the Gulf Coast region.
Jesus is a perfect security in the storm.
Music by American Idol contestant George Huff. And a message of hope from Franklin Graham. Check your local listings or log on to billygraham.org/TV.
I have an innate fear of being boxed in.
That's why I left the corporate world.
I wanted to create something. But dreams don't pay the overhead. Believers do.
Being open-minded is what led Chris to start his business and why we gave him financing 2 years before his bank would. Open, how American Express serves small business.
At GMC, our engineers seek out technology that can give our SUVs improved control and apply it. Introducing the all-new 2007 GMC Yukon. With StabiliTrack, featuring active sensors that read the road 500 times per second, providing an enhanced level of stability. Looking beyond the drawing board is just one more way we engineer to the highest standard, professional grade.
Did anything unusual happen to you yesterday on 6606? Going back to biblical times, people have been uneasy about the number 666. Some women postponed giving birth yesterday to avoid that date. On the other hand, lottery tickets with that number were big sellers. Ernestine Wright was a big winner in a school board race in Alabama. Her vote total, by the way, was 666. Jack Cafferty is joining us now with the Cafferty File. Jack?
How do you avoid giving birth? I mean, if it's time, isn't it?
You would think, but I don't know.
Been my experience. The House has overwhelmingly passed the Broadcast Decency Enforcement Act, which means I have to leave now. It will increase maximum fines given by the FCC to $325,000, which is 10 times the maximum now. The bill's on its way to the president. The Senate's already passed it. The question is, how aggressive should the FCC be in trying to control TV and radio content? Art writes from Valparaiso, Indiana. For years, the FCC's been nothing more than a tool for born-again right-wingers and mothers who want the government to do their parenting for them. My TV came with a channel changer, and if I don't like what's on, I change it. I'm offended by their decision that I'm not able to make my own. Bob in Radford, Virginia. The FCC has absolutely no business regulating free speech in any way, shape, or form, except for its technical purposes to prevent overlapping signals and apportioning the airways. It should not stick its big, ugly nose into anything else. Stephen in West Palm Beach, Florida. As usual, politicians have to prove they're on the job by making a mountain out of a molehill. I think the FCC indecency rules are silly to begin with, and upping the penalty to $325,000 is just absurd. I don't understand why portrayals of violent murder and rape are perfectly acceptable, while the appearance of a woman's breast is the end of the world. Referring to the Janet Jackson thing. Beverly in Arkansas. If you can tell me one good thing that can come from the raunchy trash on TV, then I'll be glad to reconsider my position. Sheila in Crossville. Well, all I know is they haven't been aggressive enough because Rush Limbaugh's still running his big mouth. And Steve writes, so how much would it bleepin' cost CNN to show this? Only he didn't write bleep.
See you in an hour, Jack. Thank you. What type of personal information are teens posting online, and how often are they telling the truth? Two new studies provide some startling statistics. Jackie Schechter has details. Jackie?
Well, the first study comes from Democratic pollster Greenberg Research. They studied Gen Y, 18 to 24-year-olds. They found out that 1/3 have lied or stretched the truth about themselves online, and about 1/4 have pretended to be somebody else entirely. About 78% have personal websites or blogs. The majority of those on MySpace.com. They're putting up photos, they're putting up email, smart enough not to put phone numbers or addresses, by the way. And this is a generation that started young, which makes the second research interesting. It's Common Sense Media, a nonpartisan nonprofit. They interviewed parents, talked about teens. They said that the internet was the greatest risk to their kids, and they are monitoring. 87% check in at least once a month. Wolf.
Jackie, thanks very much. That's it for us. I'm Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room. We'll be back in 1 hour. Let's go up to New York. Lou is standing by to pick up our coverage. Lou?
Thank you, Wolf. Tonight, President Bush is pushing illegal alien amnesty, and voters are pushing back. We'll be talking with a Republican who won a special election in California, and our exclusive report on the potential for massive voter fraud in our midterm elections, the vulnerability of electronic voting systems to fraud, and the role of Venezuela in those elections.
This is Lou Dobbs Tonight, news, debate, and opinion for Wednesday, June 7th. Live in New York, Lou Dobbs.
Good evening, everybody. Tonight, voters sent President Bush and the U.S. Congress a powerful message, saying amnesty for illegal aliens and our lack of border security is unacceptable. Republican Brian Bilbray defeated his Democratic opponent in a special election in Southern California after saying border security must be the country's top priority. President Bush today insisted his amnesty plan is not amnesty, and that his way is the only patriotic way to solve our illegal immigration and border security crisis. John King tonight in Del Mar, California, reports on Brian Bilbray's election victory, its likely impact on the national debate on illegal immigration. Ed Henry reports from the White House on the president's increasingly desperate battle to save his so-called comprehensive immigration reform plan. And Lisa Sylvester reports from Washington tonight on one congressman's plan to make our immigration laws mirror the laws of Mexico. We turn first to John King in Del Mar for a report on the Bilbray victory. John.
Well, Lou, what is stunning about this victory is not that Brian Bilbray won. This is an overwhelmingly Republican district, so he was supposed to win in the eyes of many, but how he won. This Republican candidate for Congress won by directly attacking the immigration views of the Republican president of the United States. As the vote began to turn in his favor last night, Bilbray told us in an interview that he was in trouble until he decided to emphasize border security first and foremost when it comes to immigration reform, and not only paint his Democratic opponent as soft on illegal immigration, but to also paint the Republican president as just as soft, maybe more so.
The president proposing amnesty was absolutely a big problem. And in fact, it wasn't until I was able to highlight the fact that I did not agree with my friends in the Senate or my friend in the White House on amnesty that you really saw the polls start supporting me strongly.
And now, even as the President of the United States travels the country trying to build public support for an immigration compromise on his terms, Bilbray says the lesson of his election will be that he will now go to other Republicans, incumbents in the House, Republican challengers around the country, and say that if they want to win this election, they should emphasize border security first, and they should stand up to the President and his allies in this fight.
Don't listen to the Senate and don't listen to the White House. They mean well, but they're not listening to the people. And those of us in the House of Representatives, by nature, are the voice of the people. And the people really have spoken quite clearly, I think, in this election.
Now most House conservatives who view the president's plan as amnesty were in no mood to compromise to begin with, but they are immediately taking from Bilbray's victory a sign that they should not compromise at all, that they should hold firm to their position heading into the November elections, which of course will significantly undermine the president's efforts to broker a compromise this year. We should be clear, though, even as Mr. Bilbray and Republicans celebrate holding this seat, there are signs of trouble for the Republicans, not just a feud between this candidate and the White House on immigration. Mr. Bilbray got 49% of the vote. His Democratic challenger got 45%. That's 9 points better than she did in the election of 2004. So Republicans say they definitely realize that this is an example of how they will have trouble motivating the conservative base to turn out in this midterm election year. But Lou, I'll tell you this, as they study ways to try to turn out those voters, Mr. Bilbray now joining the growing Republican chorus that says one thing not to do is to cut a deal with the president on his terms when it comes to immigration. Lou?
John, thank you very much. John King from Delray, California. The winner, Brian Bilbray, joins us here later in this broadcast. In Arizona, Governor Janet Napolitano vetoed legislation that was intended to crack down on illegal immigration. That legislation, passed by both houses of the Arizona legislature, would have granted state police the power to arrest illegal aliens on criminal trespass charges and would have tightened penalties against employers of illegal aliens and would have denied new state benefits to illegal aliens. The Speaker of the Arizona House says Governor Napolitano is thwarting the will of the people with her veto. But Napolitano, who is up for re-election this year, says the bill, quote, offers no constructive new ideas and is instead filled with unworkable or unconstitutional provisions. This is Governor Napolitano's 115th veto since she took office only 3.5 years ago. President Bush today acknowledged that the battle over illegal alien amnesty is the ultimate stumbling block, as he put it, to his so-called comprehensive immigration reform. During a visit to Nebraska, the president blasted critics of his amnesty agenda. President Bush said harsh, ugly rhetoric can divide the country and make us forget the values that made America great. Ed Henry reports from the White House.
One day after alleging his critics are using the word amnesty as a scare tactic, President Bush fired back at conservatives calling for massive deportation of illegal immigrants.
It makes no sense at all to say we can find people and, run them out of the country. For some, I guess that sounds appealing. It's impractical. It's not going to work, and it's not necessary in my judgment.
The president asserted again he's not for amnesty, insisting his plan does not let illegal immigrants off the hook.
You got to pay a fine for being here illegally. You got to learn the English language. You pay your debt to society. And if you choose to be a citizen, you can. Just you wait in line at the back, not in the beginning.
While pushing back on amnesty, the president is offering conservatives some olive branches, talking tough on border security at a Tuesday stop in New Mexico. And after touring a Catholic charity center Wednesday in Nebraska, the president stressed the need for assimilation, teaching immigrants American values and culture before they earn citizenship.
I saw a place where people were learning to speak English and learning the civic lessons of what it means to be an American citizen.
But the president stumped the students when he asked how many father-son teams have served as president of the United States. After noting his own father was the nation's 41st president, Mr. Bush revealed the other duo.
Juan Adams y su hijo Juan Q.
The president said he's still hopeful that the impasse over immigration reform can be broken, but right now that looks like an uphill battle against many in his own party. Lou?
And thank you very much, Ed Henry from the White House. In Congress, there's rising anger tonight over Mexico's blatant interference in our national debate on illegal immigration and our border security. Congressman John Linder is sick of the Mexican government's hypocrisy. He says it's time for the United States government to demand more respect from the government of Mexico. And to make his point, Congressman Linder has introduced legislation that would make our immigration laws mirror those immigration laws of Mexico. Lisa Sylvester reports from Washington.
President Bush has been talking up border security this week, but at least one lawmaker says if the White House were serious about solving the nation's illegal immigration crisis, it would follow Mexico's lead. Yes, Mexico. the United States' southern neighbor has some of the toughest illegal immigration laws on the books. Representative John Linder has introduced legislation that would adopt restrictions similar to Mexico's.
So I thought I'd put a bill in the hopper that just totally mimics what Mexico has, with tough punishments, felonies, deportation, and let's get it in the mix and talk about it.
Among the provisions, the government would tightly regulate the entry and exit through U.S. borders, whether through land, water, or air. The Department of Homeland Security would create a national population registry and maintain a record of every person who is not a U.S. citizen or national. An unlawful entry would be punishable by a $9,000 fine and up to 2 years in jail, instead of being treated as a civil violation. The Federation for American Immigration Reform says a double standard on illegal immigration has long existed.
Why should Mexico be able to make these demands on us for amnesty when it has its own very tight and highly enforced immigration controls? Why can't we just have the same immigration laws that Mexico does? And I think people really deserve an answer to that question.
The legislation is a long shot on Capitol Hill, but the bill's sponsor hopes that House and Senate conferees considering immigration reform will take note of Mexico's tough stance and perhaps use it as a model for gaining control of the United States' broken borders.
A study by the Law Library of Congress found that in addition to Mexico, Sweden, Switzerland, Brazil, Egypt, and Japan all have stiffer penalties against illegal immigration than the United States. Lou?
Lisa, thank you very much. Lisa Sylvester from Washington, D.C. Coming up here next, the illegal alien amnesty movement is trying to run a Texas sheriff out of town. And yes, they're playing the race card. We'll have that special report. And the astounding story of a California woman whose identity was stolen by more than 200 illegal aliens. We'll have her story. And Brian Bilbray, the winner of the special congressional election in California, joins us, telling us how important border security and illegal alien amnesty will be in these upcoming midterm elections. President Bush loves amnesty, but please don't call it amnesty. Senator Ben Nelson of Nebraska will be joining us, and he will call it what he says as the correct definition. Stay with us.
Here you go, Pete. Hey, Pat.
2 years ago, I had a heart attack. Right there where Tina is standing. If it weren't for Bayer aspirin, who knows?
To me, Bayer's an amazing thing. Just think about it. The same Bayer aspirin I take for headaches and me for backaches helps save Pop's life.
Bayer is an important part of this family.
Always will be.
It truly is a wonder drug.
And try Extra Strength Bayer Back and Body. It rushes relief to the site of your pain.
When you can trade at Fidelity for as low as $8, you might have money left over for other things. Like Rick Derringer.
Yeah.
For example.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Fidelity's got low-cost trading and low margin rates. What's your broker got? Fidelity. Smart move.
Get home delivery of the New York Times, now in more U.S. locations than ever before.
It tells me in depth what I want to know.
Even if you don't live in New York, I think it's great to get the New York Times.
Get home delivery of the New York Times at 50% off. Call 1-800-909-5577.
It gives you the national perspective.
They're worldwide, really.
Science time, science and leisure.
The sports. I clip articles, I clip recipes.
It's just a useful tool.
Make your day richer with the New York Times. Get home delivery at 50% off, as low as $2.50 a week.
The New York Times really tries to get at the truth.
I respect the Times.
It's aerobics for the brain.
Sort of a how to, when to, where to.
I started reading the New York Times when I was 7 years old. It's part of my family tradition.
It's concise, it's evocative. It makes me feel like I'm in the know.
Get home delivery at 50% off for 12 weeks, as low as $2.50 a week.
I feel like there's a broader scope.
It's fun to read.
It helps keep me inspired.
Now get home delivery in even more U.S. locations. Call 1-800-909-5577 for the New York Times at 50% off.
There's the Times and there's everything else.
Inside San Quentin as you've never seen it. CNN Tonight. What's it like doing life at one of the world's most notorious prisons? Larry goes deep inside San Quentin. A special Larry King Live. CNN Tonight, 9 Eastern.
Tonight, our nation's elected officials are ignoring a widening identity theft crisis that threatens all U.S. citizens. Illegal aliens are stealing the identities of American citizens so they can remain and work in this country illegally. One Northern California woman says her identity was stolen more than 200 times by illegal aliens. Casey Wyan has her story.
Audra Schmierer has been a stay-at-home mom for 6 years. Now that her son's in school, she wants to return to work, so she applied to a temp agency.
They called me 3 or 4 hours later and said, Mrs. Schmierer, I don't understand why you're applying. You already work here.
At a big tech company, a similar experience.
Here's my driver's license, my passport, my social security card. I gave them everything. And she said, well, really, how can you actually prove you're you? What if those people have the same documentation you do?
Schmierer has discovered more than 200 illegal aliens throughout the United States are doing jobs Americans supposedly won't do by using her social security number. They work in fast food chains, cosmetic companies, even receive dividends from Microsoft.
I started to gather all this information and really found out how extreme the situation was. It's scary.
Her ordeal began last year with a bill from the IRS for nearly $16,000 in back taxes for a job in Texas. She lives in Dublin, California.
My husband was actually quite upset. He asked me when I had ever been to Texas.
She tracked down the illegal alien whose phony tax return triggered the IRS bill. He told her he bought her social security number and a fake green card at this Texas flea market.
I don't understand how illegal aliens can come across here and commit a felony. Identity theft is a felony. And be excused from that felony to continue living their life when I cannot live my life.
By January, Schmierer faced a $1 million IRS bill. She was temporarily detained by Customs returning from a foreign business trip with her husband, and her Social Security account now shows a zero balance, erasing 14 years of work before her marriage.
Social Security right now sends me to IRS. IRS sends me to Social Security. Every now and then they'll send me to the FTC, whom I have a case with. No one wants to do anything about it. Right now, I have nowhere to go.
Schmierer spends several hours a day trying to clear her name. The IRS has canceled her bill, but Social Security won't give her a new number. She says all 35 employers she's contacted have refused to take action against the workers using her number.
It's cheap labor, and they don't care.
Neither do most senators. John Ensign brought Schmierer's case to their attention, and they still approved Social Security benefits for illegal aliens using stolen identities.
The crime of identity theft and Social Security fraud are not victimless crimes. The victims of these crimes are American citizens and legal immigrants.
And in this case, the victim is the granddaughter of a World War II veteran who immigrated legally to the United States from Guadalajara, Mexico. Meanwhile, the Social Security Administration says it investigates reports of fraud, but wouldn't say if it's investigating any of the cases related to Audra Schmierer. The IRS says it can't penalize employers who believe they're accepting legitimate Social Security numbers, Lou.
Of course not. Not in the system that has been created by our elected officials. Casey, we can only hope that every one of those senators who voted for amnesty so proudly are watching her story and your report here tonight. We thank you very much. Appreciate it. Casey Wyan from Los Angeles. Okay. Tonight, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials have shut down a New York City-based operation that sold fake marriage documents to illegal aliens in order to help them obtain green cards. Immigration and Customs Enforcement says one of the leaders of that operation is none other than a federal immigration employee. Officials say conspirators made more than $1 million in profits. 30 people are under arrest tonight for taking part in the operation. The Veterans Affairs Administration tonight admits that its identity theft crisis is much wider, much bigger than previously disclosed. The VA now says the names, birth dates, and Social Security numbers of more than 2 million military employees were stolen from the computer of a Veterans Affairs employee earlier this year. That includes nearly 80% of the U.S. active duty military force. This is a significant increase from what the VA reported over the weekend when it disclosed that data from only 50,000 active duty personnel had been stolen. When this crisis broke last month, the VA said only personal data from millions of military veterans had been stolen, and it waited almost 2 weeks to alter its report and alert the public. A battle is shaping up in Texas between supporters of illegal immigration and the sheriff of El Paso County. Illegal immigration and open borders advocates say the sheriff is using racial profiling to enforce immigration law. The sheriff says he's enforcing the law. Bill Tucker reports.
It's stops like these that have forced a showdown between El Paso County Sheriff Leo Samaniego and the Border Network for Human Rights. Sheriff Samaniego says his deputies are just enforcing the law.
The law in the state of Texas allows a driver's license checkpoint. You can check insurance, and if you come across something else, of course you have the right to enforce whatever law is being broken.
The Border Network for Human Rights sees it differently. They say the stops are checkpoints meant to catch illegal aliens. They call them intimidating exercises in racial profiling by a department which is roughly 75% Hispanic, and they say they've collected signatures demanding that Sheriff Samaniego resign. Yet while calling for the sheriff's resignation, the group did not return repeated phone calls. But the head of the Texas Senate Hispanic Caucus has been speaking out. State Senator Juan Hinojosa sent a letter to Texas Governor Rick Perry reminding him, quote, "The mere illegal presence of someone in the United States is a civil immigration violation, but not a criminal offense." Hinojosa goes on to say that, quote, "Sheriff Samaniego's raid and roadblock approach to immigrants undercuts the ability of local law enforcement to ensure the public's safety because it discourages both legal and illegal immigrants from seeking help from the police." The sheriff says the charge doesn't hold water.
If you have a group that's complaining about us doing our job, of course they're going to throw in all kinds of insinuations. If they have something to hide, then by all means they should be afraid, because we're out there, we're enforcing the law, and if you're a law-abiding citizen, you have no reason whatsoever to worry about what we're doing.
Sheriff Samaniego is the head of the Texas Border Sheriffs Coalition.
The sheriff's office is crying foul over the charges, saying they're motivated by politics, noting they're mostly driven from the offices of one state senator, Ellett Shapley, a candidate that the sheriff refused to support in his re-election bid. And Lou, as it turns out, not every member of the Texas Hispanic Caucus is pleased about that letter. They were not aware of it, and some of them did not approve it before it went to Texas Governor Rick Perry.
The letter from Hinojosa?
Correct.
Well, State Senator Hinojosa has a lot of explaining to do, it seems to me. He's outrageous, and it seems to me like the people of El Paso County should be very proud of a sheriff who's doing his job at a time when not many are, frankly. We've gotten to know him pretty well over the course of the past couple of years. What's a reaction in the press there?
The press there has come out in favor of him. There's a column on Sunday just recently in the El Paso Times where a columnist came out and said, Sheriff Leo Samaniego screwed up bad. What was he thinking, trying to enforce the law, in essence, and warning citizens that they should be careful because they're going to be looking for a new sheriff.
And there is one little point here. The sheriff's department is receiving state funds for the purpose of
enforcing the law.
Enforcing the law, immigration law included. Thank you very much, Bill Tucker. It's remarkable. You gotta love Texas. That brings us to our poll tonight. If you had to base your vote in November on one of these issues, which would it be? Border security, illegal immigration, the war in Iraq, gay marriage, the economy. We know it's unrealistic to suggest that there would only be one, but we're curious to see what that one issue would be. And if you would, please cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. We'll have the results later here in the broadcast. Coming up next, after you cast your ballot, who counts the vote? You may be surprised. They live in Caracas, Venezuela. American democracy for sale. In fact, it's been sold. Our special report coming up. Brian Bilbray wins a seat in Congress by promising to boost border security and block amnesty for illegal aliens. He's our guest here next. Stay with us.
I mean, is there anything they don't charge you for these days? Every time I make a trade, big commissions. Buy a few mutual funds, bam. I mean, just having an account in the first place, cha-ching. Pretty soon, you'll get a bill just for walking past their office.
Bigger isn't always better. Dish Network packages start at just $19.99 a month. So whether you want a little or a lot, you can pick the one that's right for you. Pick your package, pick your price. Dish Network, better TV for all.
Kids are just better with technology than their parents. Like, by the time I graduate from college, we'll be building clean coal power plants that are pollution-free, and that includes greenhouse gases. Go here, they'll explain it.
Tonight on 360, their daughter was murdered just as she was making them proud. Meet the parents of Ahmet Sangiyev. 360 exclusive tonight at 10 Eastern.
The biggest event of the season, Jewelry Fest, June 11th through the 17th. For 7 days, 24 hours a day, Jewelry Television celebrates. Jewelry Fest. The party starts June 11th, only on Jewelry Television and jewelrytelevision.com.
Comcast and the Disney Channel bring kids great entertainment. Climb on board and get ready to explore. There's so much to find with Disney's Little Einsteins on every morning inside Playhouse Disney, only on the Disney Channel, Comcast Channel 41. A Disney Channel comedy series that's ahead of its time. Phil of the Future on every day on the Disney Channel, Comcast Channel 41. Comcast and the Disney Channel, keeping kids entertained.
Don't wait an hour for morning news. 6 a.m. CNN American Morning tomorrow.
Straightforwardly, electronic voting machines are putting our democracy at risk, vulnerable to fraud. As we've been reporting on this broadcast, a Venezuelan company owns one of the leading supplier of electronic voting machines, and that company has ties to the government of Venezuela's strongman, Hugo Chavez. Kitty Pilgrim reports.
This vote was cast in yesterday's primaries in New Mexico. This vote was cast in Venezuela's recall election in 2004. The same company, Smartmatic, owns the electronic voting systems used in both elections. Many experts say those voting machines were manipulated in Venezuela to give President Hugo Chavez a victory. Exit polls done by the U.S. firm Penn, Schoen and Berland had Chavez losing 41% to 59%. But the next day, Chavez declared victory, reversing the score, saying he won 59% of the vote.
Everything was computed in the favor of the government. So the only explanation is that the Smartmatic machines had been programmed in that way.
A Harvard mathematician crunched the numbers on the Venezuelan election.
I think that the preponderance of the evidence is that there was fraud in the election. It had to be the Smartmatic system. All these machines talk to a central computer and report on their results. And in that mechanism, as they communicate with the central machine can report anything.
Antonio Mujica and his partner Alfredo Anzola received a small business loan from the Venezuelan government only months before the recall election. These corporate registration documents from Venezuela show the Venezuelan government owned 28% of the stock of another company they started, Bizta, which adapted voting software for the Smartmatic machines in the 2004 elections. The same document shows a Chavez government minister, Omar Montillo, was on the board of directors. The Chavez government gave Bizta, Smartmatic, and another company a $91 million contract to run voting machines for the 2004 election. The next year, the owners of Smartmatic bought Sequoia, one of the top electronic voting system companies in the United States, for $16 million. That company provided some of the electronic voting machines in yesterday's primary elections. Smartmatic says its machines provide error-proof elections, but watchdog groups and some members of Congress are saying there's no way this situation should remain unexamined. They want the Treasury Department to review the sale of Sequoia to Smartmatic, and they say that the integrity of the U.S. voting system is at stake.
Well, let's be clear. It is absolutely demonstrable that with the use of electronic voting machines in which we do not have verifiable receipts and a way of independently auditing those votes, democracy is at risk anyway as we approach the midterm elections. To have the involvement of a Venezuelan government-owned company involved in Smartmatic and Sequoia is absurd. And the idiots at the United States Treasury who are refusing to investigate this and who permitted the sale to go ahead should be held accountable.
It is truly unbelievable, Lou, and it absolutely needs to be re-examined.
Where is the State Department in this?
We put in calls to the State Department, and they have not really responded in any way. They say they can't really comment on that.
They can't really comment. Can they do anything?
I'm not sure.
Kitty, thank you very much. Remarkable, terrific reporting. Thank you. Take a look now at some of your thoughts. Julie in South Carolina. Lou, where can I get a copy of the Gay Agenda? I've never seen a copy of it, and neither have any of my gay or lesbian friends. Dan in Florida. I really do believe if we focused on health care and the approximately 50 million Americans who don't have health insurance instead of gay marriage, then the mental health of this country will improve. Ella in North Carolina. Broken borders, broken promises, broken presidency, broken Congress. And I'm broke. Born in the USA and looking for one of the jobs Americans won't do. And Dixie in Oregon. I'm tired of hearing that illegals do the work that Americans won't. Yesterday, President Bush said foreign workers put roofs on in August. I have never heard of an American roofer that wouldn't put a roof on in August. Those statements are wrong and insulting to Americans. We'll have more of your thoughts coming up here. Send us your thoughts at loudobbs.com. Tonight, Google is having second thoughts about collaborating with the government of Communist China and its censors. Google's Chinese website blocks topics communist authorities disapprove of, such as democracy, Taiwan, human rights. Now, Google's co-founder, Sergey Brin, says the company compromised its principles by caving in to the communist government and its censors. He even says Google may change its policy or pull out of the Chinese market. We invited Sergey Brin to join us here on the broadcast to discuss principles upheld and broken. He declined. Coming up next, new violence in Iraq. More of our troops have been killed. We'll have the latest from Iraq. And President Bush pushes illegal alien amnesty in Nebraska. Senator Ben Nelson of Nebraska isn't buying any of it. He's our guest. And Republican Brian Bilbray ran against the president's amnesty agenda and won. He's headed for Congress tonight. He's our guest. Stay with us.
Be brilliant and maximize the potential value of all the cash in your account. In other words, be king of cash. The Intelligent Cash Optimizer, only at E-Trade.
Tonight on 360, their daughter was murdered just as she was making them proud. They have been silent until now. Meet the parents of Ahmet Sangian, making sure no parent ever again goes through what they did. 360 exclusive tonight, 10 Eastern.
Big, 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 big. Big, 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 big. Big, very big. Big, 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 big. So huge and big. Big, big and huge. Huge and big. Big and huge.
Bigger isn't always better. Dish Network packages start at just $19.99 a month. So whether you want a little or a lot, you can pick the one that's right for you. Pick your package, pick your price. Dish Network, better TV for all.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
In a moment, I'll be talking with Brian Bilbray, the winner of the special election in Southern California, and what his victory means for the president's amnesty program. But first, other important stories tonight. 6 more of our troops have been killed in the war in Iraq. 4 were killed fighting insurgents. 2 were killed in what the military calls non-combat related. 2,481 of our troops have now been killed in this war. The United States today said Iran must stop enriching nuclear fuel during any negotiations on its nuclear weapons program, but it appears Iran could possibly be allowed to resume nuclear activities in the future. And President Bush's efforts to convince Congress to support a constitutional amendment banning gay marriage today failed. Supporters of the proposed amendment failed to win enough votes in a key procedural vote. Tonight, Brian Bilbray is heading back to Washington after winning yesterday's special congressional election in California's San Diego County. Bilbray, a former Republican congressman, beat Democratic opponent Francine Busby 50% to 45%. He ran on a strict border security, anti-amnesty platform. His victory is evidence that illegal immigration will be a determinant issue in some, at least, of this year's midterm congressional elections. Brian Bilbray joins us tonight from San Diego. Good to have you with us, Mr. Congressman-elect.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dobbs.
The issue of border security, the issue of illegal immigration, in your judgment, how important to the outcome of the election?
Absolutely essential. I mean, to the point of my campaign signs had written right across them, tough on illegal immigration. I made it very clear the difference between my opponent and myself was she supported the amnesty proposal of the Senate, and I supported Mr. Sensenbrenner, that she supported Social Security benefits for illegals, and I totally opposed it. And she supported automatic citizenship for the children of illegal aliens, and I was the original sponsor of the birthright citizenship bill to stop that procedure.
The issues in San Diego obviously also go to Duke Cunningham's corruption and his sentencing for those misdeeds. There was an expectation, at least in the Democratic Party, that the quote-unquote culture of corruption of Washington, D.C. would certainly enliven and enhance the campaign of Busbee. How do the voters of San Diego County react to that issue?
They react to the issue that the greatest scandal was not about Cunningham, but actually about 11 to 12 million illegal aliens in this country demanding that law-abiding Americans change our laws, and that if you really want to talk about a culture of corruption, if you give amnesty to 11 to 12 million, which will end up with 30 or 40 million people here because somebody broke the law, that's the way you create a culture of corruption, by rewarding people who have broken our immigration laws.
Well, let me, if I may, ask you to watch and listen to this statement today, and our audience here, to President Bush's words on amnesty, if we could roll that.
I'm against amnesty. And I understand words in politics, and words are trying to frighten people. But it's the comprehensive approach I've outlined, when people think about it, makes a lot of sense.
The president today, Mr. Bilbray, your reaction, he says he's not talking about amnesty.
If you look in the law dictionary of blacks, and look at what the '86 law said, and it said they paid a fine, they have to learn the language, they have to go through a process. Exactly what's being proposed today. The law dictionary calls it amnesty. And I don't think there's much more we have to say about that. It's almost the basis. I guess the Sonny Bono, who's a good friend of mine when I served in Congress, said, what don't you get, what don't you understand about illegal? I guess the time has come to we got to tell people to look at the Black's Legal Dictionary and say, what is it that you don't understand about amnesty?
Well, you have been unequivocal and as clear as one could ask you to be on the issue of a fence along our southern border, saying it should be built from the Pacific to the Gulf of Mexico. What do you think the prospects will be for that occurring?
Well, Mr. Dobbs, you got to remember, I grew up on the Mexican border. I grew up right north of Tijuana, and I saw the crime and the problems before Duncan Hunter built the fence in the neighborhoods down there. One of the most dangerous neighborhoods in America, the Tijuana River Valley, is now one of the safest because Mr. Hunter was brave enough to get the United States government and the National Guard to build a fence there. And I think we should build it when and where we need it, everywhere we need it.
Brian Bilbray, congratulations on your victory.
Thank you very much.
Still ahead, President Bush in Nebraska today, as we've reported, pushing amnesty for illegal aliens. He won't find support from Senator Ben Nelson, one of only 4 Democrats to oppose the Senate amnesty legislation. Senator Nelson will be here next. 3 of the nation's top political analysts join me to examine election results, illegal immigration, the role of wedge issues in the upcoming midterm elections and campaigns. Stay with us.
When you can trade at Fidelity for as low as $8, you might have money left over for other things. Like Rick Derringer.
Yeah.
For example.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Fidelity's got low-cost trading and low margin rates. What's your broker got? Fidelity. Smart move.
Wireless means mobility, productivity, choice. But hundreds of new city and state taxes, laws, and regulations threaten to raise wireless prices, slow innovation, and limit consumer choice. A consistent national policy can relieve consumers of this tangle of city and state wireless rules. Go to mywireless.org and tell policymakers to support a national policy for wireless. Paid for by mywireless.org.
Dell Media Center PCs let you enjoy and share your digital photos. Download pictures from your digital camera, view or play them as a slideshow, print and share with family and friends, all at the touch of a button. Create and enjoy your memories with a Dimension E310 with Windows XP Media Center Edition, a 17-inch flat panel monitor upgrade, and free shipping and handling for just $499. It's more than a picture-perfect PC. It's a Dell.
After all the homework, all those long nights hitting the books, she got into the college she really wants. Now you've got to figure out how to pay for it. Announcing Loan to Learn, a different kind of loan that lets you borrow for college without depleting your home equity or retirement savings, so family finances stay intact.
Dad, it's 2 a.m.
Loan to Learn. Call 1-800-773-3523 or visit loantolearn.com. If more kids could afford the college they really want, more of the predictions made about them in high school might come true. Announcing Loan to Learn, a different kind of loan that uses your good credit to qualify and covers not just tuition, but room and board, books, every kind of education-related expense. Loan to Learn. Call 1-800-773-3523 or visit loantolearn.com.
Hi, I'm Bobby Vandermeer, and this is my story. I'm a fairly new golfer. I've been playing for about 6 years with the Golden Girl Golf League. We all suffer from all kinds of arthritic pain. We're not real good golfers, so we have to take a lot of swings. It hurts your joints, and my fingers used to get it, my shoulder and my neck. And they said, take a leave. It lasts all day, and it'll work. A leave has helped to reduce all that. In fact, I don't have any pain when I'm golfing. I'm using it right now, and I don't hurt at all. No, it has not helped my score. Don't ask my weight, my age, or my golf score.
President Bush today in Nebraska pushing amnesty for illegal aliens, but Senator Ben Nelson, Democrat of Nebraska, says the president's amnesty push is a danger to this nation and it must be defeated. Senator Nelson is one of only 4 Democrats who voted against the Senate's so-called comprehensive immigration reform legislation last month, joining Senator Robert Byrd, Senator Byron Dorgan, and Debbie Stabenow of Michigan to reject the illegal alien amnesty bill. Senator Nelson joins us tonight from Capitol Hill. Senator, good to have you here.
It's my pleasure, Lou. Thank you.
The president today making much in your home state of the fact that amnesty is an amnesty. How do you react?
Well, I just have to quote, let's say, Senator Grassley and former Attorney General Meese, who were back here in '86 when the amnesty bill was passed, and they said it was amnesty then and it's amnesty now. So I think that it's more than being worried about words. You have to focus on what it is that they're trying to do. And what we are going to have is a bill that the Senate passed that you can't square with the House version in conference. There are problems that are already arising in the conference, and if you don't do that, we're not going to secure our borders. So you're going to have more illegal immigrants coming across the board. You're going to have more meth. In Nebraska, that's a big issue. 80% of our meth comes from Mexico.
Mexico is the principal source, not only in Nebraska, but nationwide. Of meth, of heroin, cocaine, and marijuana. And we still do not have our borders secured. 4.5, almost 5 years now after September 11th, the United States Congress, the United States Senate, the President of the United States have not seen fit to secure our borders on purely national security grounds, leaving illegal immigration out of it. How in the world are American voters to react, whether Republican or Democrat?
Well, I think, what the American people are asking for is to shut the back door to illegal immigration so you can open the front door to legal immigration. But to do that, you've got to secure the borders first. And this do everything bill that seems to be hanging up the conference is going to end up where we don't have any action to secure our borders.
Senator, let me show you something, and all of us something, and ask you to listen to this. This is what the president was saying today in Nebraska about employment of illegal aliens.
Amnesty means you're automatically a citizen. I don't think that makes sense. It's not fair to those who have waited legally. We got a lot of people waiting to be citizens here, and they've adhered to our laws, and they're in line. They're in a citizenship line. And I think it would be unfair to those who have been here legally to say to those who have been here illegally, that these folks get ahead of you in line. That doesn't make any sense to me if we're a country that's going to uphold laws. I guarantee you, many employers here in the state of Nebraska, people in the agricultural sector, people in the hospitality sector, understand the need to have a rational plan that will enable them to have somebody here on a temporary basis to do the jobs Americans aren't doing.
Senator, your reaction to the president's comments?
Well, I think the president is trying to impress upon the American people how important immigrant labor is. But we can have that immigrant labor legally as opposed to illegally. And that's what I think we're all trying to do. Shut that back door to illegal immigration through securing the borders and open the front door. We understand the need that we have in this great country for legal immigration for the work that they're doing. But we need to make sure that it's legal.
You're a member of the Senate Agriculture Committee. We have taken a look at a number of studies because one of the protests is that we need guest worker programs and that we have to have low wage competition at the lowest end of the wage scale in this country so that people can benefit from labor that is, frankly, let's be honest about it, being exploited here, illegal aliens in particular. But our review of the research shows that if you raised wages by about $7 an hour, above the $9, right now in produce in particular, that would add 10 cents to a head of lettuce in this country. Isn't that a small price to pay for the dignity of the workers, whether they are from Mexico or the United States, wherever they may be from, and consumers in this country?
Well, we're caught in an unusual situation. Obviously, we want to be competitive in the world with our agriculture, and so they're very concerned about having the cost of the input costs go up, and they want to keep it at the lowest possible level. But I do think that you could bring workers in and at a reasonable level of compensation still accomplish as you're suggesting. But that's a very difficult thing, and it's going to take some time with agriculture to be able to make this work. But we could do it with legal immigration, not with illegal immigration.
And that depends, as we've discussed, on reforming immigration based on the ability to control it, which can only be founded on control and security of our borders and ports.
There is a way to do this, and that is to split the whole immigration legislation into two pieces. The border security first, that piece could be put in place, and then the rest of it could be held in abeyance until the border is secured. Then you can work your way through it.
Senator Kennedy and Senator McCain and Senator Specter and Senator Frist, the president, they would be in horror that you wouldn't be talking about comprehensive then.
I have a great deal of respect for the president and my colleagues. I just happen to disagree, but I think you can do this.
Well, Senator, I think you're right. There's so much that could be done with just a little reason and some leadership. Hopefully somebody's listening to you. Senator Ben Nelson, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Lou. It's great to be with you.
A reminder now to vote in our poll. If you had to base your vote in November on one of those issues, we know this is unrealistic, but for the purpose of sort of trying to understand where everybody's thinking right now, if you had to base your vote on one issue, right now, what would it be? Border security, the war in Iraq, gay marriage, the economy, illegal immigration. Please cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. We'll have the results coming up here at the end of the broadcast. Coming right up, how will the president's push for comprehensive immigration reform and the assertion of wedge issues influence the outcome of our midterm elections? Three of the best political analysts in the country join me. Stay with us.
The best of Joseph A. Bank. Signature suits, $3.99. Trio suits and executive suits, only $1.99. Even our famous summer suits, $179. Plus, spring sport coats, $149. And dress pants, $89. How about extra bonuses like silk polos and crews, traveler shorts, even pinpoint dress shirts, $39. Only at Joseph A. Bank. Now through Monday.
Inside San Quentin like never before. CNN Tonight. What's it like doing life at the notorious prison? A special Larry King Live. CNN Tonight, 9 Eastern.
Are you ready for action-packed football? The Les Schwab Bowl kicks off Friday, June 23rd at PGE Park. Gates open at 4:30 for the Les Schwab Bowl Fan Fest, a pregame carnival for all ages. And all fans have a chance to win a stainless steel Frigidaire barbecue from Standard TV and Appliance. Tickets are available at PGE Park's box office or online at LesSchwabBowl.com. 20 Division I players will show their talent at the Les Schwab Bowl Friday, June 23rd.
Call today for the Gold Delta Sky Miles credit card from American Express and start earning double miles in more places more often. Apply now and get 17,500 bonus miles right away. With award tickets starting at just 25,000 miles, you can fly free sooner. Plus, the card is fee-free the first year. Call 1-800-SKY-MILES. Call now for the Gold Delta Sky Miles credit card and earn 2 miles for every eligible dollar you spend for even faster travel awards on Delta and 18 airline partners. Take advantage of this great offer today and get 17,500 miles closer to a free trip. Plus, enjoy the card fee-free the first year. Call 1-800-SKY-MILES now.
Comcast presents excuses to watch more Major League Baseball. But they spent all that time carving those little bats out of trees. The gym is closed until October, remodeling or something. I could take up extreme taxidermy instead. You'll need all the excuses you can get with MLB Extra Innings on digital cable. Now you can enjoy up to 60 games a week and follow your favorite team no matter where you live. Call 888-COMCAST now to order for just $179. When it comes to sports, we're on your team.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
My friend Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room are straight ahead. Wolf, tell us about it.
Thanks very much, Lou. A new headache for the White House, and it's coming from the president's own party. The Republican chairman of the Judiciary Committee has just fired off a heated and angry letter to the vice president complaining about the NSA surveillance program. We'll go live to the White House for this developing story. And the U.S. versus the UN. The United States right now locked in a new war of words with top officials from the United Nations. And my special interview with the Archbishop of Washington. Cardinal Theodore McCarrick talks about America's battle over gay marriage, illegal immigration, and more. You might be surprised at what he says when it comes to civil unions. All that, Lou, coming up right at the top of the hour.
Thank you, Wolf. Outrage tonight over comments by conservative political commentator and author Ann Coulter. In her new book, Coulter strongly criticizes a group of women whose husbands were killed in the World Trade Center attack on September 11th. The women push for an independent commission to investigate the September 11th attacks. Coulter calls them witches and says they enjoy their husbands' deaths. New York's Governor George Pataki, Senator Hillary Clinton, and many others are blasting Coulter's remarks. And Coulter will be on this broadcast tomorrow. We'll be talking to her about why she says what she says, talk about her critics, and her new book, Godless, The Church of Liberalism. Joining me now, godly people all, to discuss this week's events, particularly the election and where it looks like we're headed, is Diana West. She is columnist for the Washington Times, and Ed Rollins, and I'm confusing our director because I'm just going in the order in which. And Juan Gonzalez, columnist with the New York Daily News. Ed Rollins, let's start with you. This election, we just heard Brian Bilbray, the winner. He said categorically and unequivocally, in his view, border security and no amnesty for illegal aliens.
Well, it was a critical issue in that district. He ran very hard on the issue. His opponent was pretty weak on the issue. But more important, it is a Republican district, and he ran on Republican issues. He also talked about fiscal control. He ran away from the president, asked Cheney not to come into the district, and he said, I'm going to be the kind of Republican I was when I was there with Newt Gingrich.
And John McCain stiffed the guy, who had, while at the same time endorsing him, supposed to make an appearance, Juan. He went away to talk about immigration to a Hispanic activist group rather than joining up with Bilbray because he wouldn't support the McCain-Kennedy bill.
Yeah, but I don't think that the Bilbray vote was exactly a mandate. In a strong Republican district, he spent twice as much money as the Democratic candidate.
Whether we're talking about Bilbray, any other election of the President of the United States, I'm not one of those guys, Juan, who believes in mandates for any election.
No, but what I'm saying is that I'm shocked that on the platform that he ran in such a heavily Republican district with so much money, he barely got 50% of the vote.
Yeah, but my gosh, he started out with 15% in the primary, right? 15% in the primary. He built quite just about 35% to get there. That was a pretty remarkable performance.
Well, I think what would have been significant, Lou, is had he lost, then we would have been able to say border security is not a winning issue. Running against the president is not good for Republicans. Right. And there was a third candidate in the race who got just 5% of the vote, but he was also a border security.
Right, but they backed, the Minutemen and others backed away from that independent candidate. But the issue was culture of corruption. What's going on here, Juan? Is there just so much corruption in both parties that's not going to play?
I don't think that sticks. Democrats don't go very far hanging corruption on the Republicans when the culture in Washington is corruption for both parties. So I don't think that is one that's going to get much traction for any candidates.
The only thing that was very telling is, with the exception of Iowa, voter turnout was dramatically low. Big gubernatorial primary in California, dismal turnout. I think voters across this country are really perturbed at the whole process, and the way that they're showing it is, I'm not going to participate. And if this continues in November, and November may very well turn into an anti-incumbent. It may be, I don't like any of them. I'm not going to vote for any of them, or I'm going to vote against them who are there. Then
you might make a mistake being anti-incumbent, but it'd be a smaller mistake.
A smaller
perhaps.
mistake. So,
Diana, the President, the Secretary of State coming out with a plan for Iran with, of course, Russia, China, and the European Union, offering nuclear technology to Iran so long as they don't enrich uranium. Good idea?
Bad idea. In fact, I personally voted against it in 2004 because John Kerry had the same idea. It was in his prescriptions for what I will do as president. So
now
this
say
is
that
quite
again.
shocking.
People don't realize.
John Kerry promised that as president, he would provide peaceful, so-called nuclear technology to Iran in concert with other powers, and in order to ferret out their true intentions. So now we see this replaying 2 years later in a Bush term, and it's terrible.
We're going to be back with Diana West, Juan Gonzalez, and Ed Rollins in just one moment. And we'll have the results of our poll. Stay with us. Well, the idea.
Last year, Norfolk Southern and its shipping partners took hundreds of thousands of freight loads off the highway. In fact, they've invested millions to convert even more traffic in the coming years. So it's easy to see how the economy won't be the only thing that benefits. Norfolk Southern, the future of transportation.
The best of Joseph A. Bank. Signature suits, $3.99. Trio suits and executive suits, only $1.99. Even our famous summer suits, $179. Plus, spring sport coats, $149. And dress pants, $89. How about extra bonuses like silk polos and crews, traveler shorts, even pinpoint dress shirts, $39. Only at Joseph A. Bank. Now through Monday.
Closed captioning provided by Head On. Head On applied directly to the forehead.
Head On applied directly to the forehead. Head On applied directly to the forehead. Head On applied directly to the forehead. Head On is available without a prescription at retailers nationwide.
We're back with our panel. Juan Gonzalez, let me ask you. Going forward, the president's saying his amnesty plan is an amnesty. He's saying that 6,000 National Guardsmen on the border is enough. How's this going to play?
Well, my view of this bill right now, we agree on one thing. I think the Senate bill should be killed. Both bills should be killed. I think that at this stage, that the concessions that have already been made by the Senate in their version of immigration reform are so extreme at this point that I favor. Yes, I favor defeating the bill. I favor defeating the bill and let the elections go on in November and revisit this issue with a new Congress next year. Because the bill that's going to come out of the Sensenbrenner-King reconciliation is going to be much closer to the Sensenbrenner-King bill than it is to the current Senate version.
What about
if anything comes out?
What about Senator Ben Nelson's idea? Let's secure the borders first, then deal with illegal immigration. You won't go for that?
Well, you're acting as if the two things are separate. The reason why there's been such an increase in illegal immigration is because we don't have a clear and open policy of getting more illegal immigrants here. How many times have we deported millions of Mexicans? 1950s, Operation Wetback. 1930s, a few million Mexicans were sent back then. You know, immigration policy constantly changes depending on the political forces at play in Washington.
I want to give you the last word.
Well, I think that immigration policies change according to the needs of the country.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I think the needs of the country are yet to be determined, which is why there's such turmoil over this bill.
The last word is that election yesterday will basically embolden Republicans in the House, and they're not going to back off where they are. So it's the Sensenbrenner bill or it's nothing.
Better nothing.
Better nothing, says Juan Gonzalez. Ed Rollins, thank you for being here. Juan, thank you very much. Diana West, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Finally tonight, the results of our poll. 24% of you say if you had to base your vote in November on one of these issues, and we understand it's unrealistic to even suggest such a thing, but it would be based on border security. 47% said illegal immigration. 21% said the war in Iraq. 1% gay marriage. 8% said the economy. Now, those are interesting results, and we appreciate you taking the time to vote. Taking a look now at a few more of your thoughts. Marshall in Oklahoma. Lou, I wonder if it would improve the current catch and release program if illegals were held accountable for not returning to their hearings. I know, it was just a dream. And Joseph in California. Lou, you need to work on expanding your vocabulary. It seems that recently you've been using the word insane entirely too much. I apologize. And Marcella in Florida. What a great president we have. He secured our borders and saved our marriages all in one day. Mission accomplished again. And Jeff in Arizona. Lou, is it our immigration system that's broken or the Congress and the office of the president? Enforce our borders, ports, and laws. Could it be any more simple? Thank you for your thoughts. Send them to us at LouDobbs.com. Each of you whose email is read here receives a copy of my book, Exporting America. We thank you for being with us here tonight. Please join us tomorrow when Ann Coulter will join me. She's launched a blistering attack against the September 11th widows and other outrageous statements. We'll find out why. Please join us. For all of us here, thanks for watching. Good night from New York. The Situation Room and Wolf Blitzer begin now. Wolf?
Thanks, Lou. To our viewers, you're in the Situation Room, where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by, CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you tonight's top stories. Happening now, an open feud between two powerful Republicans. It's 7 p.m. here in Washington, where Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Arlen Specter is lashing out at Vice President Dick Cheney and all but declaring war on the Bush White House. I'll speak live this hour with Senator Specter. It's 7 p.m. in New York, where diplomats are dishing out insults. It's an angry war of words between the U.S. and the United Nations. And a close election convinces some Republicans that a tough stance on immigration will pay off. Amid calls for a border crackdown, I'll ask a Catholic cardinal if the faithful should break laws to help illegal immigrants. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room.